All right, here I am. Here we are with my guest, Admiral Teague and Cyrus 2.0. We're talking the downfall of Hollywood to discuss the wokeness and how bad it's gotten. And it seems it's only going to get worse. I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but I am so tired of the garbage that, first of all, there's very little of it, and the stuff that they do, it's just so terrible. The TV shows, Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, DC Universe, and Marvel, everything, all our IPs, everything that we once held dear.
Is some garbage we now fear.
Well, it's just,
Yeah, well, I mean, I used to love Star Trek, and I still do love classic Star Trek. But when I hear, oh, there's a new Star Trek show coming, I shudder. I fear it. When they told me you're going to get Captain Kirk back, I was despondent. And that's where we've gotten to now. Hello, everyone on X.
As soon as I hear reboot, it's pretty much no, don't want that.
Well, that's all. That's the thing, right?
Hey, even if you hear Disney, it's like no.
Disney, I think, has started to become a disincentive for a lot of people to see anything. I think a lot of people are not happy with the company in general. They don't like it. Hello, Dave C. A wizard is never late. That's true. And you know what? A Star Wars movie could never be late because the next one is too soon. No matter how soon it is, it's too soon. I don't know when the time will come where I'll wake up in the morning and be like, you know what? I'd love to hear that there's a Star Wars movie coming out. I haven't tried to grab the remote control with the Force in over 2 months.
Why use the remote control? Just use the computer and do the streaming service as someone that doesn't want to piss on you.
That's also why I haven't used the remote control. But I do have a Roku.
All right, take over for just a moment. I'm going to do some editing, and then I'll be back to the show. But we're talking.
Oh,
how
we won't do anything.
Present the video that I have. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Trade Magazine, The Hollywood Reporter. Kathleen Kennedy says a lot of women, quotes, who step into male-dominated Star Wars world struggle. Lucasfilm boss also opened up about her unwavering support for Leslie Headland's upcoming series, The Acolyte. So this is May 30th. I want to point out something here. When was the last time we could say that Star Wars was male-dominated? Sorry?
Well,
right?
I mean, if you think about it, it really wasn't. It was just people. They're so focused on checking boxes and crap that they've lost their way. It's kind of like when people say, oh, we never had any female protagonists or female leads. It's like, and all these people start naming all these movies like Aliens and everything else.
Aliens.
Yeah, especially Aliens. And even more interesting, it's like Disney's like, oh, we want to do
Let me get her face
diversity. Someone showed a photo of like old Disney where you have of all of these different people from backgrounds, and they weren't even trying. And it was just naturally diverse because they wanted to make something good. And these days they don't. That's the biggest difference.
Just casting people off merit was doing pretty good.
Oh, they don't do merit anymore. They just check boxes now.
That's the kind of, it seems a lot of people are accusing them of the reverse of any kind of merit. But this statement, what's crazy about it is it's only from May 30th of this year, but she's calling Star Wars male-dominated. And what I say by when was the last time that was true? Let's take her at her word that Star Wars is male-dominated. When was the last time they made a movie for men? What movie has been made for men? Where's their male product? Where's their product for men? Where do I see myself in a Star Wars movie as a member of the Empire? hopefully an efficient one, because as a Spanish guy, like, I would hope that I would be presented as a good oppressor, you know what I mean, in The Colonist. If that's how they're going to set me up, I want to be seen as good at it. We don't even see good oppressors in Colonists, and by that I mean cinematically enjoyable. Like, no one is saying like the Yahtzees were good. No one is saying that the character that Christoph Waltz plays in Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards is good. But it's fascinating to watch because he's a great villain. We're not even getting that anymore. We're getting third and fourth rate villains at best. And we're not spending a lot of time with our villain because it's hard to tell our villain from our good guy, to the point that now we've reached the Acolyte, where it's two female twins. And one's slightly 51% good and one's 51% bad.
Star Wars did that first with Luke and Leia. Hello.
Yeah. You know, no matter where I go in this article to try to get away from offensive visuals, I scroll down and I see the green bald character, and I'm just like, it's Mrs. It's Headland's Mrs. And it's just so strange because she shows up to do nothing but edge talk and adds nothing. It's such a Nepo hire.
I legit thought you were going to say Mrs. Potato Head for a second.
Well, I mean, the character is just it's not a great Star Wars looking character. It looks like South Street Seaport's Mermaid Parade kind of a character, or maybe like, you know, a Coney Island freak show kind of character, more than a Star Wars freak character. And the character's supposed to be a freakish character. It's an alien. So by definition, in Star Wars, not so much Star Trek, but Star Wars, we don't have a lot of real, quote, good-looking aliens. You're either human or you're different, to the point where, I mean, and we don't have anybody who's sort of a little bit of both, right? Like, we don't have a half-human Rodian. Like, there's no half-human Greedo. But, you know, Star Trek does that. So in Star Wars, the aliens are usually interesting. They sometimes they're like dangerous, and you know, we can't like do much but you know, expect them to hopefully be engaging looking. Jar Jar Binks being a good example, you know, Greedo being a good example, Chewbacca. And so we have this thing that's just so much more Star Trek than Star Wars, where it's simply presented to us as it's a woman whose head is shaved and she has some trill spots painted on her. But, you know, that's forgetting for a moment that she's not a Star Wars looking alien. The aesthetic for this has been actually slightly better than some of the shows we saw in the past from Star Wars. Did they build up enough real sets?
I'll take Jar Jar over Acolyte any day.
Phantom Menace is like, it's nowhere near the worst Star Wars story by a long shot anymore.
These companies need to stop hiring people that just want to do fanfic with their own stuff inserted into it.
I elaborated my theory with Outlaw Bill the other day, and I've been saying this a lot. I think that in Hollywood Writer School, I think that you go in there and you're told, look, you know, hi, welcome to Hollywood Writer School. You should be so happy you're a Hollywood writer. You know what? You go, and hello, Dad Man. And you know, you should be so happy. You're doing great. You know that you're in writer school. We won World War II here in Hollywood, where the most successful genre is the crime story. And wonk, their brains shut off after that. And they stopped taking in information. We won a war, and the most successful way to make money is detective stories. This is a nakedly obvious detective story because they say it's a whodunit. You have to pay attention to forgive the flaws in the story to figure out that it is a whodunit. But we all figured out sooner or later that this is, in fact, a whodunit. It's a Jedi whodunit, someone offs Trinity early on. But we have had this mystery box theater bullshit in Star Trek and Star Wars for a good long time now. I'm sick of it. It's just that this time they didn't bother to like hide it inside another trope. So my feeling is just these people wanted to write NCIS. They were rejected. They blame it on their like orientation or identity. and they like fail their way into Star Wars. So every Star Wars story, to me, has been an audition to write series crime TV. And that's how every Star Trek show and every Star Wars show feels. They're chasing a mystery, and then at the end of the show, you see why they can't write for a major crime show, and why they can't. And hello, Lee Anthony Davis. You see why they can't write for a network crime show and why they can't start their own. It's because they can't close the mystery at the end. They don't know how to red herring us with a false bad guy. They don't know how to like operate as mystery writers, because the other part they heard was we can win a war. And they perceive themselves to be at war with everybody else who's not exactly like them because they're the way they are. And they may be operating under a misperception about that too. And spreading misperceptions, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And to clear it up, the war they think they won would be World War II. A lot of people will say Hollywood won World War II. It's not so true. What happens is Hollywood got all Americans on the same page for the war fairly quickly when we had been very divided about it beforehand. But Hollywood was still new.
Well, where do you
still new.
When do you think? What year can we trace back to when the wokeness really, really started coming out of the woodworks? Where did it all?
2016 Ghostbusters movie seems to be everyone's favorite starting point because it's just too many stars.
So again, and that was another political year.
In political years, it gets really bad.
Year, you know,
if we count the political years as being every fourth year, right? Because that'll be the general election. A lot of Americans don't really pay as much attention or didn't used to the midterms. So yeah, in political years, we tend to get movies that wouldn't get made the other 3 years. And we tend to get movies that, if we're lucky, we get like an Alan Sorkin movie where we can laugh it off like Wag the Dog. In a bad year, we don't do as well. I mean, we get political movies that are a little more instructional or a little more biased.
Well, some say the woke is coming to an end, and I don't know. I don't foresee it ending anytime soon. We might be. It might be 2030 or 2029 before it really ends.
I don't know. You know what? It's like
it's. I don't know about any of you, but I am personally fed up. I mean, there's hardly any compelling good movie right now to see, which is a surprise, is the freaking Bad Boys movie, and that's a farce, and that's going to be dropping, and it's like,
I saw Anyone But You. It's very good.
Because
we
don't get until Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine until late July.
Yeah, it is so weird. They are so late in July in that one. I don't know, like the middle of summer. They're like, everyone will be done with their vacations by then. I don't understand why that drop date is so far. I guess they wanted every minute of it because they were afraid they would go back and reshoot it. And the fact that we haven't heard about reshoots is stunning.
It's like, what? They're not hiring good writers. They don't write any good stories in Star Trek, Doctor Who, Star Wars. It's like it's just all check boxes, and it's F the storytelling. Who the hell do they make the garbage for? I mean, they have alienated all the fans, right?
I would say this. First of all, hello to everybody. Connie, Dadman, Lee, Anthony, and Dave. And thank you for coming by. If you could tweet out that we're live, it would definitely help us. And if anyone on X wants to send us any questions, we'll read those too. But Lee Anthony's kind of talking about the same thing. He says the tide is turning. No one trusts the mainstream media anymore. That is why people are turning to alternative media with all the tricks up their sleeve are not influencing the audience whatsoever. That's probably, I would say that is more than 51% accurate. Yeah, it's pretty true. That's a pretty good statement. I mean, I think the Johnny Depp trial was a watershed because the news, even no matter which news outlet you liked, because I was I checked in on all of them on that one because I was so stunned. They were all like 2 or 3 days behind what happened, despite the fact it was happening in their own offices on their own computers, and they could have watched it easily. They didn't even have like an intern tracking the Depp trial, and it turned out like 1, people were very interested in it. 2, they were basically so far behind that they were misreporting. And I don't remember a moment where they caught up until it was over, where they're like, Johnny Depp has won his anti-defamation trial.
People love watching a train wreck.
Well, that's essentially what everybody is doing with this Wokealite garbage. It is
including
an utter freaking
nerd. Our show really, like, what can we do? They're desecrating something we love, and we do this with Star Trek. We'll do it with The Acolyte. We're coming after your views, and you know what? If anyone has any curiosity, wants to poke the corpse of this thing of ours that we love that you destroyed, we can do something about the amount of views you get about that. We can do something about that, all right? We can take this into our own hands. And if you come to our watch party, this is what I'll tell you. The show that you're going to watch, it's probably going to suck. It would be a shock if it didn't suck. But our show, let me tell you something. We bring the humor, we bring the fun, and we have the Star Wars knowledge to debunk it in real time. I mean, there are guys like Star Wars Theory who are awesome and who are going to give you even more deeper takes. We're getting better all the time at this. But why should they do it in the dark is my justification. To anyone who says, why are you misery casting this? Why would you also show this show? 1, we found a way to get it without having to part with the coin of the realm, so to speak. And 2, why should they do this in the dark?
Well, I mean,
why should they get away with it?
When has there been a good Star Trek series? Really, I mean,
there's never
that shit, that garbage that I seen with them turning into the musical. That was just cringy. I don't know what's just cringy right now. They're both pretty cringy with the power of two, the power of many. That was almost the same amount of cringe and garbage.
That was so unreal.
In writing.
Was so unreal. The thing is that the Star Trek may have been less cringe, as bad as it was, because there was a worse episode that season than that one. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. That Star Trek show is terrible. It's not Star Trek. It's New Trek. It's not Star Trek that I recognize. And man, was it ever terrible. It was terrible.
I haven't seen it, but I know of it. In the newest Doctor Who episode, I think they had the first man-on-man kissing, like getting tongue up in
Doctor Who. In Doctor Who.
Oh my God. It's like,
that sounds absolutely disgusting.
It does. And then who likes that garbage? It's like, it's not just Star Trek fans or Star Wars fans. It's happening down the freaking line. It's like they're destroying every fucking IP possible. They're what they are. What the
theories on this
powers that be are taking. What their powers that be are taking everything that we once loved, and they're burning it, and they don't care. They don't fucking care.
True.
So it's up to you and you to have a voice. Here it is. Come here.
Imagine you're a fan, and you've been a long time fan, and all of a sudden they start doing stuff.
I don't have to imagine.
To appease, yeah, exactly. We don't have to imagine anymore. But these days they're making stuff for like 0.01% of the audience, so they can get bonus points on trying to look good for putting this shit in it.
That is
meanwhile, you lose like 99% of your actual loyal audience in the process. Was it worth it? No, it wasn't. And they're starting to realize that it's no longer worth it, and it's not going to work. They're going to run out of money sooner or later if they don't get back to making people happy.
And this is just alienating people and angering people and upsetting people. And all we've seen lately from the people who create this has been that they themselves lead with their identity. All right. Now, you know who suddenly can't see themselves in Star Wars? Me. Where's Where's the the white straight guy who's got average intelligence? I don't fucking see him.
Well, let's put it this way. There's another thing you got to think of, Teague. They're doing all this, and it's starting to look like, oh, well, the good guys are starting to look a little degenerate. Maybe the Empire's onto something. That's the type of thinking they're creating, you know?
Well, I've been pro Empire for a long time because it's fun to watch the movies that way, ironically, right? If you watch it and you stick with Anakin through the whole thing, you're like, he's Vader now, but I'm just going to stick with Anakin. He's my guy. And it's like watching A New Hope. You get like that ironic second part. Because we've seen it so many times. I like ironically watching A New Hope where I'm like, just not appreciating the world your dad has created for you, man. He's just like, he's put order to the universe and you're just blowing up his favorite fucking Death Star. It's a good thing he has another one. Like Luke basically crashes his father's car on that one. Like he gets grounded. That's what happened in Empire Strikes Back, sent to the snow planet. And the OT is a side story in Star Wars now. It has almost nothing to do with the original Star Wars and with at this point. And I guess Star Wars fans should be grateful for that because that one Han Solo movie went so badly that they kind of backed away from the legacy characters. And Boba Fett, like, equally badly.
I just can't get over how bad they're treating the fans. Like, the people that made you money, people that make you money are a lot better overall for your company. But no, you just want to do things for the insignificant amount of people that aren't really your customers because they say, oh, what about us? We want to get into everything you love and take it over from within so we can fly our own banner and flags. We don't give a crap about your property, but hey, you're wealthy. Give us a platform. You're wealthy. You can afford it. Give it to us. You got money. Do it for us. That's their mentality.
Opinions vary over even what the flag should look like. And
I'm not even touching that. It's 50-foot pole. Yeah, there's a lot of arguments on that one.
Every time I see that flag, it looks a little different. And the part that I remember that was most often associated with this flag just keeps getting smaller and smaller.
I'll go for it. So you did hear the one that Twitter, as soon as Elon took over, he banned anybody that used one of those flags. You heard about that, right?
What, that flag's not allowed as an emoji, or is he considered?
No, one of these specific flags, which had it's yet another variant, like the 70th or who knows, but it was the one for
right. Okay, yeah, we're on
illegal
YouTube on
shit.
Bill's channel, so
I know, I know how to skirt it, but you get the point. And Elon's like, no, ban them all.
Yeah. Josh Street says what is the old saying? Once you make money from something you bet it beat it to death and milk it for everything it's got worth. That's exactly that's exactly what all the that's what Disney's done with Star Wars. That's what Paramount is doing with Star Trek.
But they're stupid because the money in Star Wars was never just in the movies. Were the movies the biggest blockbusters? Sure. But I thought the ratio I saw
they're killing
for George Lucas
they're losing it in the merchandise as well.
Right. I saw this figure bandied about was that the money in Star Wars was $14 of merchandising for every $1 of movie tickets. George Lucas had generated $1 billion in ticket sales and $14 or $15 billion in toy sales. And that's quite easy to believe. I would wonder how the toy market's being affected by this. We already saw the failure of Star Wars sort of sweep your local toy store off the face of the earth.
Well, you
destroyed Toys R Us. They had a whole Star Wars
you
aisle.
could almost fill landfill upon landfill with all the Rose Tico dolls and
I was just about to mention that.
Admiral Hodor.
You know what? I never thought they would manage to stay fucked up this long. When I saw when I saw Last Jedi, I was like, well, this will definitely wake people up and they're never going to make this mistake again because this is horrible. Like, people walked out of this thing like this is a disaster. and it's not going to be well received. And I go and turn on the internet, and people are not receiving it well, and it's like, wow, big shocker there after what I just saw. And who would want a Finn toy? Not going to sell too many of them in China, that's for sure. Lee Anthony Davis said, I would like to ask the panel, let's see, what's the best way to get at, to affect Kennedy, Disney, and Hollywood that would frighten them, never mind how diverse they are and their left-wing agenda?
Don't buy anything that they're making. Don't buy the toys. Don't buy the streaming service subscription. Anywhere you can download them, freaking do it.
Well, I think it's getting to that where we, even with our hate watching or hate reviewing, or despise because they're dragging in and just destroying what we used to like. They're fooling themselves. They don't even have an audience that they think they have.
We're doing better than they are off this show. We have X amount of people looking through our siphoned down way of seeing this, and it's absolutely done in a way that helps the consumer, and we care about Star Wars. And if Star Wars is great, I'd be going on an hour later and talking about it.
We would have to collectively across the board. That means every YouTuber to not talk about how bad this show is, or how, because it's just getting worse and worse, because that's exactly what it is. If we don't talk about, we don't stream about it, then who's your audience that you think you have? But nobody's gonna do that.
And we have to get into,
because we're making, like you said, we're making far much more entertaining content from how bad this garbage shit is.
And you know what? We apologize for the poor quality of our source material. But you know what? Until Hollywood wants to get it together and give us good shows, we're going to, call out these bad programs, and I'm not going to let them do it in the dark. We loved Star Wars, and George Lucas is the first culprit in this one. George, I'm going to call on you right now. Despecialize these fucking movies and give us them as they appeared in theaters. I watched this with a 20-year-old, and he scoffed at A New Hope. Scoffed at it.
They really don't care about our opinions in Hollywood. I mean, look at it. Most of them have been caught going to a certain place surrounded by water, or that they've been part of certain kind of cults. They don't care, and they won't care until nobody watches their stuff. It only takes a few seconds to say, this isn't worth my time or money. They will never learn until their pockets are empty. And then they'll be like, hey, wait a minute. Maybe we want to make money. Maybe we should make something where we can actually put some money in our pocket. That's where we need to be.
Even right now, the one thing I saw in the movie theater that said to me it's going to make money, as I walked out of whatever it was I saw last, and I'm still trying to remember what the last movie I saw, because it was like whatever, it was a while ago. But as I walked out, the sign was there for like 15 or 20 Pixar movies were just coming back to theaters. There's no messing that up. If you send your 30 Pixar movies back to the theater and you don't fuck with them, they're already made. You just open up a theater and you show this movie, it's all profit. You can even cut down the price a little bit and give some more money to the movie theater owner to help him out, because you fucked him over with a Marvels movie that tied down like 4,200 screens for like 2 weekends to a bunch of empty theaters. What the fuck? I mean, you're not helping this stuff. If we're supposed to be loving movies and having movies that are events, like I remember when Star Wars was an event, an event. Now the event is like, what will they break next by mistake while they're trying to offend us? And, this will make the right people angry is no way to sell anything.
Just remember, Hollywood's not your friend. They haven't been your friend. As soon as it's the same problem with anybody that wants power or money or anything over everybody else. As soon as they get it, they will step on you, squash on you, do whatever they want because they've learned that you will eat it up and that you're okay with it. So the message that people need to send to Hollywood is, no, we're not okay with you. We're not okay with putting money in your pocket. We're not okay with this garbage that you're making. And I usually use a fair amount of identical jokes.
Is that enough? Will it be enough?
Yeah, that's the question. You need enough people to make a huge difference. And so far, I think even one of their CEOs admitted behind the doors in a shareholder meeting or something like that, where it's like, yeah, this isn't working. We're losing a ton of money, and people do want the old stuff.
Well, I don't think they fell off a sheer cliff. I think this went off like as a hang of fire, as they used to call it in dueling pistol times. It's like they pulled the trigger, but it didn't immediately fire. All this bad stuff was in the pipeline. The gunpowder's burning. But like the first thing that happened was like they launched Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which is terrible. But people are convinced and they're conditioned to see that the Marvel movie will usually be good. So they overlook some signs. And maybe they get a trailer that doesn't represent the movie that well. And they go see this movie, trusting that it's going to be good. And you saw what we got. It didn't make sense. It wasn't good. It wasn't fun.
Let me ask this question first. I'll start with Cyrus. Cyrus, do you think the new Marvel movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, will be any good, or you think it's going to be a cuckold and another piece of... I mean, I know most of us, the majority of us, are hoping for a surefire hit. Is it going to be
I would surefire hit? For it to be a surefire thing, but you got to look at like, okay, just track record recently. I know with Deadpool, they've been trying to kind of not do a lot of that stuff, but there were a few nods in there. It's like, no, don't even do that. Don't do that. If that was what X-Men did, let X-Men go be its own thing somewhere else. Don't even give a nod to that crap. So I don't know. I'm thinking it'll probably be interesting. It might be one of the first movies I've seen in the theaters, and I don't even know when I went to a movie theater last, but it was some sort of fan event. I don't know. Maybe I haven't been to a theater in a couple of years.
God,
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember now. I mean, it was only like 4 or 5 months ago.
That's the short answer. Is I just don't know where this is going.
Was it as long ago as John Wick 4? Jeez.
That was last year,
I saw John Wick 4 on my own TV.
Yeah.
John Wick came out last March of 2023.
I think the last movie I saw
wasn't a theater visit for me.
I think the last movie I saw was probably a Star Trek re-release. I saw a Lord of the Rings re-release. I've been seeing re-released movies because I have no interest in seeing movies. Like
I've only
4 or 5 trips back is that bad Bond movie where they got.
I've only seen 2 movies in the theaters this year. That was Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, and
was Frozen Empire good?
It was all right. Wasn't terrible like a lot have said. And then the other one was Arthur the King, about a guy who was running a race and he finds this stray dog. That was really good. Those are 2 movies I've seen the entire year at the theaters.
I just saw a movie called Anyone But You with Sydney Sweeney, but I saw it the way it was meant to be seen, on a plane flying to Florida to see the Stones. It was fun in that context. Glenn Powell is fun too. They're fun together. I want more movies from the 2 of them. I would watch another rom-com from either of them, and I would give either of them a chance alone too in a rom-com. I don't like rom-coms, but I like that one. Is The Acolyte completely finished? And will Hedlund be sacked for incompetence and mishandling of the situation? Your comments, please, panel. Hedlund will be. Yeah, Hedlund's going to be promoted out of the company. They won't outright fire her.
Supposedly, the next episode 4 is her favorite one out of the 8 episodes.
That means it's going to be total.
It's going to be really bad. By the way, I didn't get a chance to answer this question, but I'm going to say this. One, I think that we're seeing some chinks in the armor of the woke, and that maybe there's a sign that, first of all, it's never going to end. It will never end. But there's a lot of movies. When will it not be the dominant movie form? About 2 more years. What's up with Deadpool? It's going to suck. It's going to suck. It'll be kind of woke, but not as woke as they want it to be. But it'll be woke.
God, I hope
it's
you're
going
wrong
to
on
most.
That.
It's
I hope you're wrong on that,
suck.
Teague, because
it's going to suck.
You know.
I have no confidence. You're telling me it's going to break a streak of something like 8 straight terrible movies. What's the last good MCU theatrical release?
Endgame, baby. Yeah, I know.
Don't wait for the translation. Answer the question.
That was 2019.
Yeah, I mean, John Wick 4 had some problems, but it was a fun time. Much more fun than the Bond movie, which was like, I mean, then I saw Return of the Jedi, and I had a hard time enjoying that because of Book of Blobafett. That had me annoyed.
It's okay. It wasn't called Return of the Jedi. It was something else with the Jedi. That Last Jedi was the in between film of the Disney. What is it called? They call it the sequel trilogy. Is that what they're calling it?
Here's the thing. Some people will say that if you are showing a show like New Trek, or if you're showing a show like Star Wars, and you're getting it out there to people, and then you're talking about it, that we're a part of this problem. The thing you need to realize is this: we are actually addressing the real problem, which is Leslie Headland. Now, if she is representing her most prominent traits that she leads every fucking conversation with, the same way she represents Star Wars fans, we have to think that she's doing everyone a disservice. I really, honestly, I gotta say that. I live in a city, a major metropolitan city. I've met a lot of different people, and I've met a few celebrities just because you see them when you live in a major city. All right, I live in New York City. I've never met. Actually, here's the thing. I've met too many people like Leslie Headland, but she has the traits of every single obnoxious person I've met. She is obnoxious. She is hard to look at. Deleted. She comes after you on a common sense level and on a nonsensical level. She is guilty of flashbanging your brain. When we see these interviews with Leslie Headland, it's like she's done a rail of coke. I don't know what happens there. I'm not making an accusation. I'm giving an opinion. Her delivery, too much Red Bull, put it however you want. Struck by lightning.
Well, she was happy that when
have you
seen that video where she said that she's happy that
you're being too generous.
the gayest Star Wars ever, which it is, But
in everything, I'm proud that this is the most Irish American Civil War movie ever, and thinking there's one has some validity, and the other is just it's like your movie has no gain. It's like, hey man, we don't know what these soldiers were doing. How dare you assume they were all straight? Come on, go away.
The problem where everybody's like, oh yeah,
hey Mark,
is the gayest blah blah blah, and I'm sitting here thinking, well, realistically, it's just that they have permission to call it that because they own it.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's just fanfic using the Star Wars name, has nothing to do with it. Freaking Outcast's not going anywhere. It's like, what is this fanfic garbage? So the problem is calling it Star Wars when it's just some fanfic garbage.
And as far as this thing goes with Deadpool 3, I trust Ryan Reynolds. I keep hearing that. Where'd that get Scarlett Johansson?
What about Scarlett Johansson? I don't think she's in the film, no.
I'm saying all these people saying about Deadpool 3 will be good because they trust Ryan Reynolds. Where'd that get Scarlett Johansson? For those who don't remember, they were married for a little while.
Yeah.
And he says his phone got hacked?
If you're ever
says.
someone in Hollywood, never date another Hollywood person. Always find someone that has no idea who you are.
Okay,
I know who you are, I guess.
Anthony Davis has another question for the panel. What is your favorite Star Wars film? What is your favorite Doctor Who and Adventure?
What is the worst?
Is the worst of the three?
That's 3 questions.
If you want to clear that up
Yeah.
with another comment, I guess we can go with the 2 obvious ones first. My favorite Star Wars movie, there's 2 answers to that. The favorite one, I guess, will be it was always A New Hope, but the most enjoyable one, because I've seen it the least, but I really, really like it. The most watchable and enjoyable one, the one that I put on, the one that I like the most, it's Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith.
I love Revenge
really?
of the Sith. I love Revenge of the Sith. It's the most watchable. I didn't say it was the best. I said I really enjoy watching it. I enjoy the tale of Darth Vegas.
For me, it's definitely Empire Strikes Back. I mean, I like the entire original trilogy. And it's just, for me, I'm old school. It's just Star Wars. It ain't no New Hope. It's just Star Wars.
That is the one I think is the best. And the thing is, I would say I like it the most, but I've got like 20 years less of watching Revenge of the Sith.
I have the high ground.
I love that movie. I love that fight. I love that confrontation. Ewan McGregor was good in the movie. I mean, you would never know that he was such a good actor seeing his other work. He's terrible in other shit. And he's terrible as Obi-Wan in the Successor show where he plays the character completely wrong. It's horrible. I don't want to hear any more from that Obi-Wan. I never want to see that Obi-Wan show again. It's like, you know what? We've said this a few times. If you had gone back and asked your own self, what, did you, in the future, if you go back to the past and tell yourself in 1999 that one day there'll be so much Star Wars, it'll be embarrassing, you would never believe it.
Favorite Doctor Who was
Tom Baker.
Tom, yes, that's what I was going to say.
Same one.
Tom Baker, as I was
Second
slowly
favorite,
getting the words out.
Matt Smith.
That's the Matt Smith made it.
David Tennant.
Yeah.
No, the hot D guy is fucking awesome because he curses and he's crazy and he's kooky and he fucking like kills people. I love that guy.
Hello, David Quinta. Good to see you, my friend.
Hi there. I saw Steinberg music video. Yeesh, cringes to. Huh? Steinberg music video?
It was out. Yeah, she has a video and it hit X today, and it is so freaking cringeworthy. I don't know if it was Neurotic or one of the bigger channels out there from YouTube. But yeah,
I agree with your Spaceballs comment. By the way, I mean it's better canon than they've got, and why they're so committed to this Disney sequels that didn't work out when there are paths to walk away. I just don't know.
By the way, the answer for me would be Empire.
Everybody out there in the chat on YouTube here and on X, we want to hear your stories. We want to, we want your interaction. Where do you think the pivotal moment where Hollywood just started to become really, really, really bad? Was it 2016? Was it sooner than that?
2016 started a sustained thing, right? The damage is ongoing, and God, I heard they botched Harvey Weinstein's trial, so he's back in like he's still in jail, but he's not in prison. He's in like county lockup, and he has to be retried on all this shit because they fucked some stuff up. Now, I'm sure he will be reconvicted, and if he walks, he'll get arrested in California. So it's not like he's going free, but that's going to extend this conversation again. But at the same time, why is his assistant working for Disney? Why is Leslie Headland making a show that is designed to make me angry by their own admission? As a legacy fan, a fan of the original Star Wars, who can no longer see themselves in any way in this. What am I supposed to grab onto in this weird story?
When did Star Trek start going bad? Was it?
It exploded the first few minutes of Star Trek 9, Star Trek 09. But the first Star Trek movie that was terrible was the first terrible Star Trek movie is Star Trek 7.
No. I'm not talking movies. I'm talking TV shows.
Star Trek becomes irredeemable the first moments of Discovery.
Wasn't it sooner than that? Wasn't it Picard? Wasn't
Picard
it
after Enterprise? It was all downhill.
Picard comes later. Enterprise ends in 05 and 18. Discovery starts in like 19 or 20. Picard starts. Picard was a fourth and long all the time because they couldn't get their Discovery show off the ground. Netflix never wanted it and was starting to try to cut off funding from day one. That's well known. That's established. That they got out of their contract with the Star Trek people, and that's why these other shows have slowly run out of gas and become cheaper and cheaper and grosser and more dull. And had more and less, finally less executive producers because the piece of the pie to run off with, as I would suppose, I'm not making any accusations here, but Director Ray, could you go to Hollywood for a couple of days? Seriously.
I love David's comment. I consider Spaceballs Star Wars canon before I would the sequels or any of the shows.
Yeah. Which is worse, The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker? No, it's definitely The Last Jedi. That was the be all of all, fuck all changes and shit hatcheries. They never had a story. They never had a plan. They just went and made these stories.
Oh, they had a plan.
Hack Abrams, he took something and he makes it look pretty, and that's the extent of his capability, because everything he's ever done has been garbage and shit.
Well, the active hypothesis among critics, or at least it's gotten a lot of traction in a lot of circles, is that when he walked in to do Last Jedi, Rian Johnson rubbed his round head when he looked at what he saw, and he felt that JJ had left him nothing but story stubs that couldn't be developed, and that JJ had cannibalized from the middle and end of the movie to make a first movie, the middle and end of the story to make a first movie that was popping as much as possible. And he felt the characters weren't any good, and he was right about that part, and also he felt what do I do with Poe, because he spent the entire movie isolated from the other people. And out of all the things in that movie, the first thing I would say is, as you watch that movie, now that you know that it takes place just minutes after the other movie ends, what was the point of having a crawl even? Everything about that movie just goes to what that movie, if it was going to be so different, we needed a 20-minute consistent flashback of what happened from a reliable narrator of what went down at that Jedi Academy, because we still don't know. But yeah, Last Jedi, absolutely worse. But the thing is, Rise of Skywalker, by that time, I had been an anti-fan of J.J. Abrams since Trek 09. So when was Rise of Skywalker? 2017, 2018, something like that? I had been suffering for about 9 or 10 years under the lash of J.J. Abrams. And when his movie blew up, I viewed Rise of Skywalker as vindication. I viewed it as years and years of being told that it was all in my head and the trailer looked great as being paid off. And I've noticed that ever since Rise of Skywalker, everyone who told me I was crazy to say that he would do terrible things to Star Wars because, quote, Star Trek was always garbage. You know what? No one seems to remember it that way anymore. Have you noticed that? How many people just will not cop to the fact that they were excited Remember the excitement for Force Awakens and all the Star Trek fans? Like, you don't know what you just got your hands on. You don't know what you're on, what's going to happen next. We've seen where this ends.
Starting a poll. Sorry.
So let's see, which is worse, being impaled or being beheaded? I would guess being impaled is more painful. You know, unless you're going to behead me with a cheese grater, then that would be horrible. Then I would say impale me. But like, love the way Ricky Gervais, says Lee Anthony Davis, destroyed and made Hollywood elite a laughing stock. Do you think he will get a call to present the Oscars? He should, but he won't. And I would also say, you know, Will Smith did more damage than that guy ever could. And hello, X, we see you out there. If you want to interact, go ahead and talk to us. I'm watching the outside external X chat, so I should see any comments made. So anything I've heard from Critically Thinking and Drinking that sometimes people on X feel they're not being addressed. We should be able to see your comments on StreamYards, but I'm watching both on StreamYards and on X, trying to do my best here. So should you not see response or see your comment here, you know, we will be highlighting the X comments to make sure you get heard. But
absolutely,
we would just like to say this to our Lord and Master Elon Musk here. Could we get some analytics on these X views?
Indeed.
Can I get some analytics on this? But it is
coming
nice that you're all here. But yeah, Will Smith with one weird pulled punch that, and I'm not saying it was a stunt. I'm saying like he wasn't even done throwing that punch before he realized his career was over and tried to stop it. I'm saying like he was his heart, how much his heart was in it went away as he started to. Did he realize when no one dragged him off the stage they would have to punch him? Is that when it comes across him that he has to follow through with the punch? Was he counting on security to drag him out? And that might have been the last dramatic moment Hollywood's given us, because unfortunately the Mission Impossible movie didn't do so great. And they're saying they could maybe pay it off in the second one, so hopefully that'll work out. We're not too far away from Dead Reckoning Part 2, which it's not going to be called Dead Reckoning Part 2 anymore, is it? It's just going to be called Mission Impossible, like 8 or whatever it might be.
Why wouldn't it be called Dead Reckoning 2? I'm pretty sure it's going to be called Dead Reckoning Part 2.
I heard that for a while there, they were talking about phasing out the Dead Reckoning part because Dead Reckoning 1 underperformed.
I don't think so. It did pretty well.
I think Maverick might have had expectations out of line.
That's an entire different movie, Teague.
Right. I'm saying because Tom Cruise is in Maverick and this was his next movie, people were like, Tom Cruise is a movie star. People will see his movie. It will be great. It's going to do really good. People still held off because movies don't cost, you know, the equivalent of like a half hour worth of working. It's like an hour and a half worth of working for most people to go see a movie that sometimes is only an hour and a half. You know what I mean? Like, you buy a movie theater ticket, it's minimum wage and maybe then some with taxes. And then you're going to pay taxes again on the movie, but that's another thing altogether. It's just, it's not the disposable $5 and $10 that some Americans used to have.
So we have a poll in the chat. When do you think all this woke BS began? Was it before 2016 or was it in, I guess, in 2015? I meant to write 2016, but anyway, vote on it. Tell us what you think.
Here's a thought. Why you want to just like start the poll, like kill the poll fast before we get? Oh, we have 3 votes already. All right.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to answer that one. I would have just gone like 2014, 2015, 2016, or 2017 as the answers. You want to try? You want to go at it again? You want to go with it? Because I don't know. I would say the seeds. It really happens. Like, when was Harvey Weinstein arrested? When was the Harvey Weinstein charges dropped in court? When was he indicted? I'm gonna Google that.
We need a. I want to really ask the question or find out when it all really began. Where did Where did Hollywood really stop burning?
I almost used an unfortunate choice of words to say end the poll. I was going to say smoke it, but in a different way. So maybe we should just scrap the poll and go with like 4 years, starting with 2015, right? This way we have 2016 would be the second one. So it'd be like less than 2015 would be answer one, then 2016, 2017, greater than 2018 as the last one. And this way we'd have a degree of vicissitude, because if it's before 2016, we can then, and when we get to like 10 or 12 votes, we could call it scientific if we want. And then we could see if we get one of the nebulous answers, we can ask people again in a second question if they thought it was like much before that, right before that. You know what I mean? It's like, did it happen many years before 2016? Did this start happening when, I don't know, like they added sound, or when Technicolor came in? I mean, there's very, like the rating system did it. Like NC-17 changed minds. Like this, you make any case you want. I would say we had a whole bunch of things come together. In TV, it's when Lost ends. In movies and cinema, it seems to be Ghostbusters 2016, when things that maybe had always been used in Hollywood came to the forefront, including stuff like meat shielding your casting with diversity so that no one can say anything to you. Like, we're Teflon, we've got Leslie Jones. And then like the next thing that would be like blaming the audience for the failure of a movie because the movie's already gone. Like, it failed, it's gone. Like, it's done with theaters. It's like trying to save it in home video by drumming up indignation. And I don't think that worked in the first place either. And, Ghostbusters, maybe you just have to have the right guys doing it the right way, because the last one, somehow people weren't willing to go see it. And that might have a lot to do with the economy. I don't know. I still haven't seen it. It took me a long time to want to see Afterlife, though, because I think a big part of this is once we redeemed Ghostbusters, we found out we had no appetite for it without the original guys being most of the story.
Lee Anthony Davis says, love the way Ricky Gervais destroyed and made Hollywood elite laughing stock. Do you all think we will get to call a present Oscars?
I love
the Oscars. Nobody watches the Oscars anymore. That's so boring. It's such crap. I don't think they still air the Oscars.
And the people I'm with, one of them took out the cell phone and they played that exact thing. I'm thinking, yes, they needed that roasting. They really did. Of course, what they did is they didn't learn from it. They chose to just ignore him and put their noses in the air.
Don't give your political view. Fuck you.
Yeah, they didn't listen to him, so they're suffering.
Fuck you. You know nothing.
Nothing was worse for my esteem for fellow New Yorker Robert De Niro than seeing him lose his mind and speak with so little gravitas and have so little apparent intelligence and be so unbelievably angry and unhinged.
Why, Tig, would you expect intelligence from anyone in Hollywood? There's only like 2 people in Hollywood that are intelligent.
He was smart enough to have the reputation of being, quote, sort of an outsider who, quote, didn't do the Hollywood game and, quote, mostly lived in New York, where I guess it didn't make a difference. It's still, he surrounded himself by other people who were from the Hollywood.
We got 4 votes. We got 4 votes out of 8 watching here on YouTube.
I want to thank you guys.
Yeah,
that's a lot of opinion.
They all say 2016.
Hold on, Jedi Bill.
I just edited it. I will have to start another one.
That's cool. Why don't you try constructing it the way like before 2016, before 2016, right? Which would include like the run up, 2016, 2017, and then the last one would be after 2018. To like basically the same question. This way we can
than the Ghostbusters 2016. Was there something before that?
The end of Lost is on television. Toxic marketing methods. Using the internet to lie might have been invented by the Abrams people at the end of Lost, where they're like, "No, it's actually really good that you got no answers." It was like better than a bad answer. It's like, if you had committed to any answer, literally any answer, it would have been better than this. And you know what? It doesn't take a lot of imagination to save the end of Lost. The island was cursed because natives that used to live there who encountered a European ship that was off course, and there was like a fight between the voodoo using islanders and like the sort of paganistic Europeans who are a little too evil, like maybe like and now like the ghosts of both haunt the island, and that's why the island was bad, and that's what pulled the plane from the sky. That would have been all it took.
It was purgatory.
That was what they said after fans said. They weren't the first ones to say it. Fans said it. What they went with was it was coping method of the mind after the plane broke apart, so that the whole story had been imaginary. This way, they didn't have to end it. It ended with the person running out of time to imagine more of the story and hitting the ground. And they were pretending like that. They pretended like that was their artistic vision from day one, that this was all going on as a coping method to the fact that the plane has come apart around you and you're falling from the sky.
It sounds like they forgot, so they're like, let's just have the audience decide.
I think what happened was they realized they made the best teaser trailer they could they gave the best pitch they could to the people for the pilot. They only pitched their pilot. They kept their pitch really specific. They got greenlit for the pilot. They burned all the resources and put the company probably in a position of having to give them a little more money to finish that pilot. It was one of the least substantive pilots I've ever seen. The pilot of Lost, if it's an hour long, like at least 13 or 14 minutes are just people screaming and running around and explosions in a row. I don't know how many times that happens, but at least once on that beach, after the plane finally comes out of the air, they're running around screaming and yelling, and the engine's running still. You hear the jet engine sounds loud as hell, and they confuse you by throwing people at you like Tom Cruise's lookalike cousin Tom Mapother, and all these other weird things that J.J. Abrams is good at, flash banging your brain. And at the end of the episode, people are like, wow, that was so overwhelming that this show must be great, without realizing it hadn't said anything. And JJ's biggest problem was he had to then write episode 2, which wasn't just a trailer. And he could never put meat on the bone. We never found out what that fucking polar bear unicorn was. Nothing.
Polar bear was explained, though.
Was that explained? The polar bear unicorn?
Yeah. There's even whole videos on the whole Lost stuff where they go back and they
don't count. Fan theories don't count.
No, not fan theories. They go back and they explain the series, and things that you saw originally were explained later on.
You know, that's the bad
and you
robot
forget about
deal.
It. And that's why you see the collar later on for the polar bear.
I'm not sure that they've been able to pull that off for too many other things. Maybe, here's the deal. There's real tornadoes too. Because if you watch J.J. Abrams' TED Talk, and J.J. Abrams has had a way over the top effect on our lives. Everyone should watch J.J. Abrams' TED Talk, because it's only about 12 minutes long. But because he's so Red Bulled up, it's like 45 minutes worth of information. And he's so vapid that he opens up a tissue box and speaks about that for over 2 minutes. The maker's mark, the printing on it,
and how like a tissue easier than me.
It was a con.
Lee Anthony Davis asked me, what is your favorite Clint Eastwood movie? Love the Dirty Harry franchise, and my favorite is Magnum Force. There's so many good Clint Eastwood movies.
I'd have to bring that down to One Cop, One Cowboy, and One Outlaw.
The Outlaw Josie Wales is pretty freaking good.
I love that movie.
And the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Unforgiven?
Unforgiven's pretty damn good. Yeah, she's long passed away. if only Sandra Locke had been replaced with a better actress in Sundance Back. And then Chelsea Outlaw Josie Wales, yeah.
I'm going to defend her performance in that simply because of this. She plays a very shy, repressed woman. She was well cast, or the part was well tailored to her. I realized the situation at the time, but the fact of the matter is, in that role, with Ruth Gordon, I felt that she delivered and was whatever else you want to say about her. And there's some criticism to be had of roles, but in that movie, I did not feel she detracted. And what's ideal casting for that character then? Maybe Shelley Duvall at that time. Who else could have really played it? I can't see anyone else in that role. Have we reconstructed the poll? By the way, strange thing about that last poll, despite the results, we just got a late dump of votes, and it seems as though the real winner of our poll was Biden. I'm not sure why, but we'll look into that later. I'm sure that there's a rational explanation. But yeah, it's strange. After we closed down, just a late result. Write that one off to coincidence.
I didn't realize it was 4 a.m.
It's 4 a.m. somewhere, Cyrus. But I guess Meryl Streep would have been better. Meryl Streep's definitely a better actress than Sandra Locke. But I have no issues with Outlaw Josie Wales. Every role pretty well played. Terrell, Senator Lane. One of the things that you never realize, because I saw Animal House first. Wasn't it's shocking in Outlaw Josie Wales and the bad guy turns around and it's Dean Wormer.
I'm trying to access something. So
what the heck is spaghetti?
I was wondering what jumped in. A spaghetti western is by definition, they're made by one guy, and they usually starred Clint Eastwood. They kept making them after he was gone. There's a few of them, but basically they were made in Italy and Spain by a mostly Italian, at least at the intellectual part, right? Written by Italians and maybe Italian filming and Italian scoring, and I think just location was Spain. I don't know if Spain could be part of that because I think Spain was still under Franco and weird, but you could film there. And they imitated the American Southwest. It's swapped in well enough, because let's face it, even someone like an East Coast American like me, I'm not going to scoff at a part of Spain that's really kind of devoid of vegetation. It's just some real terrible part of Texas or New Mexico or even Mexico itself. Fine, it's a city of sand with a few houses, and it was basically everyone's lines are dubbed the Clints, and the stories are usually really good. They got better and better and better. They raised it to an art form. After Clint left, they peaked with a movie called Once Upon a Time in the West, and they all have scores by Ennio Morricone, who's written some of the most iconic movie scores of all time. So my favorite would be Once Upon a Time in the West. Outlaw, do you have a favorite spaghetti western?
Well, Once Upon a Time in the West is really freaking good.
Yeah.
All the very first Magnificent Seven.
Yes.
Really freaking good movie.
Quick question: how'd you like the remake? I found it to lack the dramatic depth of a western as far as the filming. Go ahead.
I enjoyed the remake.
I honestly felt it was filmed like TV. We had the open plains of the American West, and we went with really tight close-ups, and We never showed like the beauty of the landscape or how people were dwarfed by the enormity of the land the way we usually do in a Western. Think of the original Magnificent Seven, how they all sort of like, parade in front of those beautiful picturesque mountains to some of the best music ever. There's no real movie moment like that in the remake. It's decently acted and all the performances are good. But I felt it was under-inspired in the cinematography to the point of distraction. It wasn't terrible.
Huh.
My second favorite spaghetti Western is My Name is Nobody because it's so funny. Have you seen that one?
I don't think I have.
Bill may have seen it. My Name is Nobody is with Terrence Hill.
Yes, I have.
Comes a long time later.
We've actually played them. We played them. All those.
Is it a step too far to call that Man Without a Name? Is that now just inspired by Man Without a Name? Is Nobody a new guy? He has traits that are a little different than we've ever seen with Man Without a Name before. And what's his name? Is it's Bernardo Bertolucci?
Yes, My Name is Nobody. It was Henry Fonda. Yeah.
Yes, Henry Fonda comes back. The story itself, it says in the credits from an idea from Sergio Leone. So I think what happened is Leone starts doing well enough to make bigger budget movies, or just needs a year off, or he has like one more Man Without a Name script, but he's already finished it off with his best Man Without a Name movie, and his second unit people were like, Patron, come on, let us make this movie. You've got the script. And he's like, it's not finished yet. And they're like, come on, just let us make it. And he's like, I don't feel like finishing it. I don't feel like working on it. And there are gaps in the story and there's slow parts in the story, but the plot of the story is really good. And there are some parts of that movie that are some of the best sight gags and some of the best humor in any Western movie ever. I don't know. Bill, opinion on My Name is Nobody?
It's a great freaking Western. You guys should definitely go see it.
It's very different. It's not a heroic Western. It's a fun Western.
I played it a couple of times on my Western cinema.
Opinions on the theme song?
I can't think of it right now.
It's the best. My Name is Nobody has the best theme song. It's great. It's whistling. It's got all sorts of different instruments in it. It's really inventive, and it's just like really, really vibrant and kooky. It's fun to the point of being embarrassing to how much it makes me, how much I enjoy it. I'm a little embarrassed how much I like that song.
What's the name of the Star Trek show with Mikey Burnham? Is that Star Trek?
That's Star Trek Discovery, and there's no middle ground. It's like Star Trek actually
has it actively been bad, like from the first season to the last season?
Let me put it this way: the first minutes of the first TV show, we blew up a classroom of Vulcan children, just a massive explosion. Everyone dies except Mikey Spock.
Sounds like a dream Anakin would have.
This was so un-Star Trek to start it with. And then I guess we find out it's the Romulans. But they never really go anywhere with that bullshit. And then the next thing we know, in episode 2, we have a questioning of the authority of the go to war, not go to war order. And I think Mikey Spock is the one who demands they go to war over her own captain's head. Whatever their final action is, it's done over the head of her captain. She overrules her captain. She basically pulls a mutiny on her ship, and it would have been worse, but these writers are so terrible that at the same time, there's also a political coup going on in the Klingon Empire. During the same battle, both sides change leadership in mid-battle. So it's always been terrible. Bad is a compliment. With Star Wars, you get a few scattered episodes of quality TV with The Mandalorian. And I do say scattered. I believe that at least 2 or 3 of those season 1 episodes are terrible.
Um,
What was that? I sound like you're
we
cutting
need
out there.
we need a debate here. We need debate something.
Well, I
Need more-
mean,
I'm holding back a
debate.
little here and allowing the conversation to just go wherever it goes, because you know I've said what I can say on that topic. I don't know where to go, where else what else to say to elaborate on it. Star Trek Discovery was just absolutely terrible from minute one. There was no time where they took our head up out of the filthy water. It was sort of like a swirly, and again, it had all the hallmarks of the garbage we've seen recently, and including like the forced diversity to shield criticism. It was a bad show.
Well, that's always the excuse. Their excuse is always the same. Deflect, deflect, deflect. It's never that we're making bad stuff. It's, oh, no, you're the problem. It's not this crap we're making. We're trying to shove these excrements in your face. You better eat it. That's what they want.
Yeah, eat your gruel, and if you're not happy and happy enough to ask for seconds, you're a loser. You know what? Quite honestly, Star Trek wasn't always that way. It was different than other franchises because they understood that they were a little smaller, that they would never get as much money, and they needed the goodwill of their fans. And I will give you an example, and this might upset some people, but please take this in context.
yeah.
This is absolutely true. For the first few years of Deep Space Nine, the fans weren't that into it. The later Deep Space Nine bails out the earlier Deep Space Nine because it's better. But like, people were more into the last season of The Next Generation. People weren't tuning in the way people had expected to for Deep Space Nine. And people were criticizing vocally what they didn't like about the show. They said, we don't like that they have no ship, and we're not finding that there's enough going on. You don't have enough cast members. It's not interesting enough. Like, there's not enough interesting characters in this show. So what happens? In season 4, they break down and they give them a ship, and they bring over Michael Dorn from Star Trek Next Generation.
Was there a holy shit
better
Star Trek moment that was as bad and as cringy as that third episode of the Alwokalite? Was there
Captain
a moment
Kirk eating the apple? Captain Kirk eating the apple in 09. When he eats the apple during the Kobayashi Maru test, I was like, what the fuck? Captain Kirk would never cheat.
I don't know what eating the apple means. Well, you're like me.
All right. In Trek 09, they take the James Kirk character and they badly reorigin him. JJ changes the entire Star Trek franchise by doing this. He rewinds time from the timeline that we're familiar with and goes back to before the timeline of the original series to about the timeline of, say, Captain Pike, or before, like 5 to 20 years before Captain Kirk, right? 15 to 20 years before Captain Kirk. There's a star date in there somewhere. But what happens is that ship encounters a Romulan giant mining ship, which can also be used as a handy dandy Death Star. It's both. And it just happens to look a lot like a warship, even though it isn't. And most of its origin story was cut from the movie. But what happens is that encounter with the starship, Kirk is born during that encounter. While he's being born, his mother is being evac'd off the ship, and his father is left in command of the ship, and the autopilot goes down, for lack of a better term, and he has to kamikaze his like Reliant-sized spaceship into the Romulan ship. Because what's happening is the Romulan ship is blowing away the shuttles that are evacuating, including his family, and killing off the Federation survivors. So he has to man the guns till the last second, and he makes a heroic sacrifice by ramming the Romulan ship we don't know this, but then the Klingons show up, capture the Romulans, and put them in jail until the Romulans escape when James T. Kirk is 30, when for some reason late in life he gets inspired to join the Starfleet Academy, or 25, whatever age he's supposed to be. He gets inspired to join the Starfleet Academy after he's like 3 years past college graduation age. He's like a fucking slacker. He's a dick. He fucking can't pull off hitting on women. We see the Enterprise being built on like Earth. It doesn't fit the lore at all. His father's dead, which is not, Star Trek lore. His everyone's an asshole to him and hates him when he's a little kid. Then when he gets older, he's still an asshole and everyone hates him justifiably. And then the movie just moves forward and like he gets caught cheating on the Kobayashi Maru test from the Wrath of Khan, and they're about to kick him out of Starfleet when the Vulcan Death Star, the Romulan Death Star gets rescued by its crew, who escaped from the Klingon prison. We hear in one sentence from Uhura, while they're having the hearing to kick Kirk out of the Academy. So they mobilize the entire fleet, which for whatever reason takes off from the fucking Academy, and Captain Pike is put in charge. And as a punishment, they make Captain Kirk first mate of the Enterprise, and then Pike dies, so now he's captain, and that's how that happens. So he's captain in the first movie for cheating. That's when. So I knew it was over. During that Kobayashi Maru test, he cheats. The computers go down and come back up again. And after he wins the scenario through aggression, which is not how the extended lore goes, he takes a bite of an apple. And I was like, this fucking sucks. And I think I yelled out, "This sucks," in the movie theater.
Well, that's the thing, right? JJ is best at fooling, making something look great, but it's utter shit, writing shit. He just makes it look good, but it ain't good.
Did you run a new poll? I don't see it yet.
No.
I thought you were thinking about it. Go ahead and finish your thought, though. I'm sorry, buddy.
No, I'm trying to. I don't even know what to write as a new poll. I need more engagement here.
I would ask the last question again, and reach out to our friends on X. I don't know. Maybe try to be a little more precise, but let's see. I guess The Magnificent Seven is a remake of the Japanese Seven Samurai film, but doesn't George Lucas claim that Star Wars is too? It's also kind of a remake of The Searchers. I don't know, but Kathleen Kennedy is still telling us that Star Wars is a male-dominated franchise. And I have to ask myself when the last time that was true. Since Rey? When was the last male character? Andor? Comes after a whole bunch of female characters in a row? Mando happens to be the one good character that people liked, but we've got Ahsoka. We've got all these female characters. There's like, who's the male character in Ahsoka? Ezra? We find him in like episode 6. You know what? They need to go back to traditional storytelling instead of this attempt to keep telling us a murder mystery.
Yeah, which was adequated on the foot. The second episode of the season, there was no mystery.
Murder mystery?
Yeah,
we know who did it. We know who did it, and then we put her on a ship with what, like one fucking robot. And she manages to escape because some other alien with a foreseeable ability does affect the escape by destroying the droid. And I don't know what the hell that's about. You killed 2 Jedi?
Yeah.
And that's what happens? They put you on a droid ship. All right. You're a dark side user of some kind.
The Wookiee dies off screen with a gash in his chest, and that's it. It's like,
That was
so bad.
I have a theory about that. That's what happens when a Wookiee dies of embarrassment. The chest explodes.
It wasn't. It was like some really bad burn marks. I mean, they're spent
I think it was supposed to be a lightsaber, right?
$180 million on this. They're saying 180 million, but there's probably going to be more than that. You know, because I'm seeing a lot of market. I'm seeing a lot of marketing on Facebook. Makes me.
What was Leslie Headland's salary? 160 million. This looks like 30 million bucks. I don't see. This doesn't look great. How about those costumes?
All them witches died unshown, off screen. You don't know how you do it. They didn't explain it. It's like, oh, God.
I think that's the mystery.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, Tim. I think they're unaware of the fact that that's now their mystery. That they thought that their mystery. We're unaware of the fact that their mystery was always the story of how did the witches die because they didn't make enough of it. We thought that the mystery was the thing that had already got solved. These people are still laying down the story of why Master Torvin wanted to guzzle that poison. And he guzzled it. He was so happy. He was like, "What? Get me out of this show."
Yeah, I honestly don't want to watch any more of it. Do you honestly want? Because I really don't. Why? Why would I?
I think it's because we've gone this far, and because we have a responsibility to the people who would otherwise go be curious enough to pay for it.
Yeah.
But if we walked away now, certainly no one would blame us. The last two polls, people told us, we should be allowed to not watch it. And I will say this: name me anything of this that doesn't sound like a fucking Dio song.
May I please, Lee Anthony Davis says, may I please ask the panel, have your own YouTube channel? Can you subscribe to it?
Well, you've got Jedi Bill's channel, and if you're on X, you've got my X. But you know what? I have my own YouTube channel. I'm Admiral Teague. The channel's called Saving Star Trek. I'll put that link in the chat for you. I hadn't considered doing it until now. Usually that's something we do closer to the end, but I would be very happy to provide you with the link to my channel, and I'd be very glad for anyone who would care to join me. My show does pop culture and news, and we also do Star Trek. And let me jump into Bill's chat because I'm the one who's broadcasting to X. I don't have the ability to post comments because I'm only streaming to X, which is weird. And I would say to everyone on X, I should see your comments, but like, there's no reason you would see mine because I am unable to stream back.
There's Admiral Tiggs. Cyrus, do you have an active channel with content? Huh?
So I'm back. What I missed?
But people had asked us if we have our own channels. So Saving Star Trek counts for you too. I don't know. He's my co-host. Cyrus is my co-host many times.
Cyrus, do you have a YouTube channel where you have any content?
I mean, I have a channel, but I'm usually, I know that people showing out. I've never, with everything going on and just in general, I've never uploaded, but with everything that's been going on up until about a few days ago, I want to say, where I got, internet and all that good stuff again, I just haven't had the time to do daily crap other than be a guest.
Right.
It will be interesting to see what Cyrus does in these next few weeks, but for a little while, I'll have him more as co-host.
The honesty, I'm really going to relax and work out and then get serious about settling here.
For about 5 days, you're going to stay in denial and just be like, I can't believe this is over.
I'm glad it's over.
I can't even the ball see my Rumble people over there.
Rumble is strange. Rumble streams have been intermittently working out and not working out.
Well, since I have my name changed, I can't even access since I guess I haven't really accessed Rumble without my main PC. So I can't access it.
Put the name in the private chat, and I'll pull it up.
It was Jedi Bill 797, I think.
What I
main
hate
PC. What happened to your main PC?
Change your fucking name.
I need to get a
I got you. All right, let me see.
I need
live.
to get it. I need to get a new CPU.
We're live on Rumble.
Oh, don't tell me it died.
Well, it was running into errors, and I just needed to replace it. That one is crap anyway. It was just,
Hearing of a CPU failure, that's like mega rare. It wasn't no seed or anything, was it?
No. It wasn't CPU failure. It was just the cooler. The cooler had errors.
Oh, okay.
By the way, on the ongoing question of like, when did this start? I think it probably starts 2015 or 16, 17 was one of those years, but it probably reaches fever pitch in 2022 when Weinstein is convicted. Because at that point, there's no talking your way out of it. It takes down just like the existing order of Hollywood is absolutely. We think it's smashed, but what it really was on the level of writers and directors who really got the worst of it. And what happened was there was sort of a massive usurping, and a lot of people who were unprincipled made some accusations along with people who were correct. And the unprincipled people tended to do a little better because they're unprincipled and they were always looking to advance themselves than the people who really were victims. Because, let's face it, they were victims. And like the people telling the truth, they were messed up from what maybe happened to them. But the people who were always out to exploit this, the Leslie Headlands of the world, Leslie Headland made money off this going into it and coming out of it. She enabled the chief problem of this. And another date would be December 2022 when Weinstein's convicted. So that's when we reached this point where we're just completely committed to this. And that was when there was nothing but woke in the pipeline. But of late, we've seen here and there a movie that's not too woke or a show that's not too woke fall out. And I guess the example lately on TV was like, we got a Fallout show that only had a couple of minutes here and there that seemed like they might have been woke. And in context, they weren't. But they were done in a way that I think was done to fend off criticism that they were just too male dominated. Like they had a couple of moments that looked to be woke and they strung them all together and they got them into the first 15 minutes of the show. And if you're cynical, you would say this lines up exactly with the trope of the people who are going to opinionate on X, opinionate for about, we'll only watch your show for about 15 minutes and check out anyway. So like, is having the woke thing in the first 15 minutes X insurance? And does that mean that like, if you're trying to keep social media off your back, you'll have something in there that appears that way? That would mean that no one can start judging if a movie's woke until the woke incident happens and then see if it maintains.
I don't think you got a timeout. Sometimes YouTube's just like that where something might not go through because I saw that comment.
KI1. Sorry about that. You know what? Are you on X? I don't see it.
YouTube comment. I'm not looking at X at the moment.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah.
Did anybody get time out? I don't think so.
If I was not in the YouTube chat that much, I dropped my link in there, but I just went back to it. I had that window closed. If anyone was timed out, we can see you now. And
no, it was
Kaiwan.
I guess their stuff just wasn't going through. It's just a Google YouTube hiccup.
It was, you know what, guys? StreamYards and YouTube have both been weird for the last few days. Usually what happens is one or the other is updating, but like now we've got this new situation where for the last couple weeks, neither one has been working well. It may be a general Google denial of service attack. So if you don't hear anything, you're right to speak up. And no, I do not see the other comments, by the way, for KI1. Did you just subscribe? Are you on subscriber only mode, Bill?
No.
Don't overthink it. I think it's just a Google YouTube hiccup. That happens.
It might have been, I don't see it in the comment train, but certainly we are interested in what you have to say. And welcome to the conversation.
Yeah, I would have said, you know.
How you doing, Mark? It's good to see you. I see. I'm in the YouTube chat, but I have a wrench, I guess, on this channel, so I would see anyone. But it's nice to see you, and welcome.
Yes, indeed.
I
We're
can't
sorry.
remember.
We're sorry
Oh,
that
sorry,
happened to you. I don't.
You know
Yeah,
what? We
either you
had
guys remember that they were trying to make some like better version of Hollywood in like the Midwest to like the East or South. You guys remember that because they were so sick and tired of all the ways that Hollywood's going. They just wanted to make good entertainment again.
I had heard. Well, I mean, during COVID, when they locked everything down here, we saw stuff from that part of the world start popping with like Squid Game, and the Squid Game guy is in this stuff, but he's being misused, and the dedication he showed by learning English is just poorly misserved by his employers because he's trying. And if anyone character in this show hasn't been that terrible, his performance of that bad character has at least been somewhat. I don't want to say enjoyable.
It's been the best.
He's been good.
Yeah, he's been good with what they
That
give
guy
him
can
to
act.
work with. You know,
when they allow him to be heroic. But so far he's killed a bug. That's as much as he's done. He killed a bug last week. It is not a very exciting fucking show. We watched
there's 4 more episodes.
In the rootin' tootin' shooting up kind of Star Wars world that we live in, where like if we're not going to have an interesting story, we should at least get some action and adventure. We got what would be, there was a play on Broadway forever called Cats, and there was just a movie of Cats. And Cats has been called a play for people who don't like plays because it's just a bunch of vignettes, and every cat has a moment and does a little dance. So you don't have to remember or keep track of any characters. And at the end of it, you can say, I saw a Broadway play, and it's just like, it's been watered down, for like, you don't have to be like, one way to say it is watered down. Another way to say it is like it's accessible to the masses. It did well for a really long time. The movie didn't do well. Cats, this is like the Cats of Star Wars, except the Cats was good and that people enjoyed Cats. And that Cats was based on a good idea that people like cats. And that if you had a play that everyone could understand, you would sell out a theater in New York City that's full of people and tourists. This is totally different. This is like Star Wars for people who don't like Star Wars and TV for people who don't like TV. Made by someone who doesn't like Star Wars or TV to be Star Wars on TV. It's at odds with its own self, and it's at odds with its own story. And now, from what I understand, if you're a big enough fan, you've noticed that one of the people we're seeing is Kai Mundi, and he says some stuff about how there are no Sith.
Yeah.
So we've retconned his lifespan to fix this story. And they did that on the fly during an episode of Star Wars Theory. That he is staking his reputation on that, and he seems to have shown the receipts in real time. So I mean, for whatever else he said on this one, I believe him. And it seems like he's kind of like woken up a little bit to how bad Star Wars is, and he's not acting the way he used to when he was a little more cocky. And I found his recent content to be better. His skit about Darth Plagueis was great. Actually, there's another bunch of people who could create life. It was these lesbian nuns.
This woke shit will come to an end, but when? When is it going to end? When is enough?
There will be a period there of woke insured movies where we're going to get a woke moment up front, and then maybe we'll have to wait with bated breath to see if the movie works out, and that's going to be movies from now on for a while. Or someone is going to finally say, we're going to have
most
woke movies
these days. You have to turn off. You literally have to turn off your brain. I mean, you get a few good movies that are good and decent.
Mark's scoffing at the retcon too. He's like, "Don't you understand? Ki-Adi-Mundi's father was the Jedi Ki-Adi-Mundi." Yeah, right. Exactly. What happened was during a stream by Star Wars Theory, he had like the tab open from Wikipedia, and like while he was doing, and you can't edit Wikipedia. It won't put it through. It's got a 24-hour hold. So he could not have contrived this stunt because they would have stopped it, right? Because it was changing canon. Hey, Kronos. Good to see you.
Hey, Kronos, yeah. We're trying to figure out when all this wokeness start.
You're missing what we're missing. Good movies. We're missing good movies. There are none lately.
There are none. There's nothing interesting in the theaters. I mean,
John Wick 4 was pretty good.
Yeah, but that was last year. I'm talking about like this year, you know.
Anyone But You was pretty good. Barbie wasn't too good.
Oh, God, that's cringe too. I mean, we're getting as far as I know,
these are the movies we've gotten so far. I'm looking at movies so far this year. The Beekeeper, people liked that.
Beekeeper was good.
The Bricklayer, Good Grief. Is that Charlie Brown? He Went That Way. Mayhem, Race for Glory.
Can you
I'm
ask
still in January.
Does YouTube delete views and subscribers, as I call it, or demonstration of you have an opinion?
Yes, I believe that they do.
I personally have never experienced it, but I'm treading waters today. But I don't care because this shit is garbage. It's just what it's garbage. I'm tired of it. Tired of it, I say.
What I've done is I put into the chat the 2024 movie releases. Anybody in the chat, you want to jump on there and find something and help us out? Because I'm looking at these while I'm talking.
Well,
and I'm not overly excited about any of them. Like the Beekeeper was all right.
There is one movie that I'm excited for. It's a Kevin Costner movie. It's a Western movie that's I guess it's going to have 4 parts. I'm not sure, but he's releasing Horizon Part 1 in July, and then we're getting Part 2 in August. So
Bob Marley, One Love.
I'm looking forward to that.
Movies. I'm just skimming this year. Dune 2 was this year.
We had Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire.
Right, that fizzled, but you said it was like it didn't deserve to be hated, but you weren't like over the moon about it. And as I'm looking at this year's movies, like I'm up to February, it's like Argyle fizzled, Lisa Frankenstein, Out of Darkness, Pixar's Turning Red, never heard of it. Out of the rest of the movies I've seen in February so far, Bob Marley, One Love, I remember, and we all know and love what happened with Madam Web. Landed Bad, One Away Dolls, Sisu, I guess at some point. Was that last year? Dune Part 2 came out in March. Yes. A lot of people like that.
Everybody loved that one. Yeah.
Dune Part 2 can get some love. American Society of Magical Negroes, I honestly think was the pinnacle in movie making, and I think a turning point because that did blow up really, really, really badly.
Because that was super cringe.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing about the American Society of Magical Negroes is that even the Star started rebelling against it. David Alan Grier called the producer a liar, and he claimed that that he had been lied to and brought into the movie under false pretenses. So even the cast of that movie didn't want anything to do with it.
Let's address Mark's comment here. By the way, one of the early comments that got lost was STD was a trash compactor scene from Star Wars, but only filmed from below at the water's level. Okay.
That's a fair and funny thing to say, and I got to agree. It was like the garbage monsters view, and that is one way of putting the writers is that they probably never liked Star Trek at all. We had people who thought Buffy was the greatest show ever writing this, and they wouldn't have written good Buffy. And I'm not saying Buffy's bad, but yeah, that is accurate. That's accurate.
Firefighter was a liar.
Especially when you spell it like that, which is what he really was. In German, that's Dark Father. Liar! That's impossible! Obi-Wan never told you about your father. He told me enough. He told me that you deleted him. No. I wonder why my biological father never wanted to watch Empire Strikes Back with me. You think it was? I wonder why. Cyrus Coast to Coast is the next show coming on. Yes, and hello everyone on X. Please, we would love to see your comments. Go ahead and say hi.
Yes, please.
That's not a bad idea. Cyrus Coast to Coast, Triple C. I like
Cyrus Coast to Coast. Yeah. What would that be, like a morning news show with Admiral as a co-host?
Why no Jedi? No, because they turned them in. They're turning into Jedi into villains. They're turning Star Wars completely on its head. They're breaking and destroying it. They're a bunch of Yahtzees. They're scissor Yahtzees burning the lore.
They are really, really intolerant. They've expressed great contempt towards straight people. And like so far, like the one thing that the artist formerly known as Jedi Bill is not really giving them. Well, you can't give the story any credit.
Oh, that was perfect timing.
The thing he's not really acknowledging is that the Jedi are kind of blameless in this story. They're being presented as the bad guys, but either they're telling the story really badly or they're going to dump withheld information on us later. Because, like, while the witches are all dead, when the Jedi showed up, they're like, "Hi there, we're the Jedi. Would you like to talk about our Lord and Savior, the midichlorians?" And they were just like, "We don't like you." And they're like, "That's too bad because we think you guys are swell." And they're like, "We hate you." And they're like, "Too bad, you guys are the bestest ever. But you know what? Maybe this whole thing with like your version of the Force, we're a little more doctrinal than you are." And then they're just like, like their reactions to why they hate the Jedi are never explained. Why they fear the Jedi is never explained. Why and who killed all these people is never explained. I guess we're led to believe May did it now. Or did Smilo Ren kill them all? I mean, who did this?
I don't know, but okay. Mark says, "Bill, you, Luke, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda are Jedi. These are G-DEI.
Yep. DEI. Yes. Oh, yes. Wow. Mark, man, that is good. That is really good. I am sorry that those earlier comments were eaten by Google, but whoa, you are doing a great job there, man. You hit that one. That ball is still carrying, ladies and gentlemen, one of the strongest home runs we've ever seen hit in this chat. That's not right. Says Kronos. It was said that Disney would bring balance to the franchise, not leave it in darkness. And then, Leslie Headland turned around and said, "I'm queer, and from my perspective, the Jedi are evil." She starts every sentence with, "Well, I'm queer." And as a queer person, you know what? If I led every statement with, as a straight person, as a cis normative, as a conformist to the popular dating style, like, what would you start to think of me afterwards? Like, what's with this guy? And it's like, if I was on TV wearing like a shirt open down to like my stomach and being like, like it's like chest hair popping out, like fucking Leisure Suit Larry kind of fucking look, and just be like,
I guess
as a straight guy.
I guess if I had pronouns, they would be, "I am here to chew bubble gum, kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble gum."
If you put a gun to my head, and you would have to, I'd be like, "Yeah, but him, asshole." I mean, you couldn't tell. I mean, you could pretty much tell. It's ridiculous. Are there people born in the wrong body? Sure. Do we hate people based on who they love? Absolutely not. But are we seeing like an overrepresentation of people of certain beliefs and certain ideas to the exclusion of everyone, to the exclusion of the average person? I would just see it hard to argue otherwise.
You should be afraid of me. Very afraid. I am a Generation X.
You Generation Xer, as a I am what they call what do you call it?
You're Generation X.
What's well, I mean, yeah, let's see. In first grade, when my parents took me to see my first Star Wars movie, I said, darn, there'll never be a better movie than Revenge of the Sith. And now as a 23-year-old, I am older and more sober in my outlook on these things. And I'm just glad that Admiral Teague, which was a Star Trek related name as far as giving it a maritime military rank, I'm glad that gets just like a little more flexible. Like, you had to destroy your branding. And, like I said, again, heretofore, the Jedi have done no wrong in the story, but they're being presented as evil. They can't tell us why the Jedi are evil. And the show is so boring. And now to keep us engaged and keep us from being so bored, their new thing is it's really stupid. Last week we found out that the Jedi can home in on people using the Force from light years away. From light years away, you can home in on people using the Force. Then in our last episode, there's a Force user on the loose about a kilometer away, a half a mile for our American friends, a kilometer away. And I'm American, but we're talking to a worldwide audience with these IPs, right? Or we used to. Now we're talking to like whoever. Welcome to Star Wars CSI. Like, how'd this crime happen? The Jedi show up on this planet and they have the ability to sense it. They felt the people using the Force there. And the next episode, to track a Force user who's a kilometer away, they need this weird gopher creature. And I still don't understand that gopher creature. It reminds me of my friend back in the 90s when we used to like get high. He sniffed some stuff up a knotted up rag and ran around like a madman for like an hour or two. I don't know what that was all about, and I don't know what it was I saw last night on TV, and I don't recommend either.
Someone playing Lower Decks. A clip of Lower Decks was playing in the background. Yes.
Oh, be careful. That's bad for you. The sound is like bad. Oh, great, Cyrus! I loved this commercial. This was the last good thing from Star Trek.
The Gorg.
The commercials from like 2017 too. And David Quintana says, "Boring, I can forgive. Incompetence and willful incompetence, that's just not going to happen." You know what? So then Andor, I guess, was a respite, because as boring as that was, it mostly made sense and it didn't offend like you're right and wrong, but it was slow. If someone ate, we saw them eat every bit of food they had. It's like just like,
they're spending $20.3 million per episode, and you're getting 30 minutes. Now we're supposedly this next episode is going to be like a little longer, like 42 minutes, but still, they got 4 more episodes to go after this. It's inadvertent torture for us. It's entertainment because we get a rip on it because it's so god awful.
No, is this going 10 or is this only going 8?
8.
Thank God.
8
Thank
episodes.
God. I'm used to 10 because all new Trek shows are 10. So I'm conditioned to 10 terrible shows. And this show, they give no fucks. Like in the other shows, they were embarrassed about stealing the money and giving us nothing. So they were really, really, really long so that no one could do it's like $1 million a minute, which is what happened with Rings of Power. And even then, the episodes were 70 minutes long. It didn't help.
We should run a poll. Which was the most cringeworthy moment on TV? Was it the power of 2, the power of many? Was it Doctor Who first man on man kissing?
Loki episode 1. Season 1 episode 1. Star Trek Discovery season 1 episode 1. You know what? I knew the MCU was fucked with Loki.
Someone got probed. Really? Where?
That whole Power 1, Power 2, Power 3 thing was so stupid. And now we're hearing details that maybe even Dave Filoni had something to do with this, and he's the one who added the witches.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, yes. Yeah. Dave Filoni is as much to blame as KK and Headland.
It looks like the only good ideas Jon Favreau had at this point were to stop some things, because like his name's on a bunch of bad stories in a row. It's like out of 30 episodes of The Mandalorian, his name's on like all of them, I believe, right? Yeah. 10 of them are outright bad because like season 3 is outright totally bad.
And they're saying that we're the problem.
The problem is that Jon Favreau's name is on 30 bad stories in a row since the rescue.
Did you hear? Oh, okay, Mark says, did you hear? Right. Did you hear blaming budget restrictions why things were not shown in a world where Godzilla -1 exists? You don't ever have to blame the budget.
Yeah, they can't blame their budget after they delivered what they delivered with Godzilla -1. And it's $180 million is the reported amount of money, and it's probably a little more. It seems like maybe like New Trek, maybe they'll pull the plug on the counterattack at some point, because they've been counterattacking since before the show dropped. They defensively attacked us first. We got unloaded on before we saw that first trailer. That Kathleen Kennedy article about how women often struggle in male-dominated Star Wars. Star Wars has been so female-centric for the last 12 years.
Not just Marvel, not just Star Wars. It's Marvel too. All they're doing is
don't call it male-dominated when all your directors and most of your stories, everything coming out here is all your stars are women, all your directors are women, most of your writers are. This is a female-centric franchise that just has been misfiring for years.
No, it's 100. No, that's 180. Yeah, for the entire show is what they're saying.
No, it was.
But I'm sure they're going to, over 8 episodes. I'm sure we're going to hear more.
What would be even worse would be if they paid $8 for 180 million episodes, because then we'd have to watch all of them. You know what? Like in a world where we have to deal with Disney backing the idea that there are microaggressions, this was a macroaggression against my fucking intelligence.
FKHC 2005 asks, how much did Star Trek Enterprise cost at the end? I don't know.
Probably
Do you know the answer to that one?
$6 or $7 million. Let's all find out. Their budget was probably
normal.
That show started in what, the year 2000, or was it 99?
1999, I think. But it was December of 99.
The worst moment in Doctor Who was the Timeless Children. I know that. And the worst moment was like episode 3. It's supposed to get worse. It's supposed to get much worse. They've quadrupled, triple down on all this woke messaging shit. Mark says 1.7 million per episode.
It was 3.3 million was what I came up with.
800,000 per episode. Season 4.
I got 3.3 million per episode on Enterprise, by the way. So what I'm doing is I'm going to put that into today's money. So 3.3 million. So 3,300,000. Give me a second on this one.
Yeah. Oh, you need to stop sharing your.
Okay.
Yeah, because she's still
That's not
staring
a-
at me. She's still staring at me, Teague.
Sorry about that.
Oh, there's that with that. Never mind.
At least I don't know. Well, either one of them staring at me is pretty bad.
All right. So listen, it was $3.3 million per episode for Enterprise, but $100 in January 2024, around the time this show came out, has the buying power of $186.06 in 2024. So money has almost been halved, more than 3/4 less buying power. So to make Star Trek Enterprise today would cost, hypothetically, you could do it for $6.6 million per episode. This is like 19, but like 8. These are 8 episodes, and it's $180 million. It's 10. Is it just me? Or is that $10.8 million an episode? So this is 40% more than the adjusted for inflation episodes of Enterprise. Double and half the length. These are 30-minute episodes, and they have really long catch-ups that are just to waste time because the episodes are so short. And the catch-ups have nothing to do with anything. They leave you more confused than anything else. I would say the Acolyte, much like New Trek, punishes you for paying attention. I am angrier and more annoyed every minute that I pay attention. When I find out that Kai Mundi was like his life was extended, I was just like, oh, look at the guy who reminds me of fucking what if the Attack on the Wookiees guy? And like lo and behold, it's him, and they've changed his fucking origin story.
I am what they have done. Star Wars is dead. It's been dead. It's been fucking dead since Disney got a hold of it. It's shit, and I have come to the fucking motherfucking point that it will never come back and be good. It's tarnished. It's crap, and I am fucking fed up. I'm so fucking fed up with all this fucking shit. I'm tired of it, and it needs to end.
You know what? Easy Money is a song. That is true. Bill Rant time. Yes, absolutely. Bill coming a bit unhinged, as Snail likes to say about people. Something he's never said about me, but I have heard Snail bandy about the word unhinged here and there. I don't know who he could have been referring to. Calm down, Bill. Switch to decaf. I saw him before the show. He had an IV drip of Red Bull. It's only going to get worse as this goes on, folks. But yeah, you know what? Unleashed to this day. You are right. He is, however, right. You know what? If she is as bad of a representative, but by the way, I just want to say this in case anyone gets the wrong idea here. If you're out there and you've seen Leslie Headland representing Star Wars, you probably have a terrible impression of Star Wars fans. She's not one of us, and we have seen her representing queer people. She says it to start and end every sentence. She does. It's like, "Hi, I'm your waiter tonight. I'm a queer woman, and I'll be having the steak, and I'll have some wine, and I'm queer." Like that's how she would order steak. It's like she says it ad nauseum and ad nauseously, and I would say if she's as bad a representative for gay people as she is for Star Wars, that they must be absolutely humiliated and just embarrassed. And like when she goes out to some nightclub and she's like, like, look at me, I've got all this money. Check out my wife with the shaved head, because we see her in the show with her shaved head. And I guess that was no nepotism hire, because she was no better or worse and contributed nothing to the story, just like every other character. She had every right to be there with no ability to act, honestly.
Hail Jeff Wyatt. Yes.
Jeff Wyatt, good to see you.
30-minute TV shows are comedies. Alkali is just lacking the laugh track.
Well, we provide
and
that.
It show how to get 5% better yet.
That's why people would prefer to join us for the show than to watch the show on its own. And welcome to the Wacko Light discussions. I guess the next thing I'll say about the downfall of Hollywood is, since this terrible show is upon us, I'm going to make a prediction, and I guess only Outlaw is really in a position to address it. But Outlaw, is it just me, or do you think that is he Latino Ezra Miller, that character we met last week? I believe he's the Sith Lord or the dark side user, because I guess we don't have Sith anymore, right? Oh wait, he's going to be a or they might have retconned that guy into existence for no real reason. But Star Wars Theory did show them editing Wikipedia on the air. And today I saw a lot of people parroting that it was wrong to attack the Wikipedia people as liars because they're the biggest Star Wars fans I know. To which I put, what about the Star Wars fans in jail for perjury? What about them? Should they be also not have to serve any jail time for like lying to cover up a murder? It's like, because of what he said, a murderer went free. Yeah, but I love Star Wars. You know what? Would be wrong to put you in jail. Hey, it's understandable. Bill's ranting. Star Wars is steak. Disney is tofu smothered in shit sauce. I remember when Star Wars was an event. Yeah,
it was. It used to be. It ain't no more. Now it's laughable. It's freaking laughable. It's a shit show. It remains to be a shit show.
We've seen mistakes before, but after every mistake, there's been a degree of correction. The holiday special was a huge mistake. What's the next thing we get, though? Fucking Empire Strikes Back is a pretty good movie. Phantom Menace was a mistake. Attack of the Clones doesn't work out, but that movie is setting the stage for Revenge of the Sith, which is at least a good movie, whether or not you like it as much as me. In Attack of the Clones, they couldn't fix everything, but they do as much as they can. They get rid of all of Padme's clones. They get rid of Jar Jar in the first 15 minutes. They recast Anakin. These were three major problems with Phantom Menace. They go away right away. So George reacted to the problems with Phantom Menace by trying to make Attack of the Clones better, and he had to come to confront the fact that he himself is not very good at certain dialogue, and he needed help with that love story. And by all accounts, a lot of people say that except his. By all accounts, Marshall Lucas and other people involved in the original trilogy helped do Revenge of the Sith and did an editing pass on it to make it feel more Star Wars. Jeff Wyatt says, I was appalled when I found out how much the show cost and the runtime. Yeah, what a waste. The show technically costs $21 million an hour.
So we've got
$500,000 a minute.
We've got 4 episodes down so far, and we've got maybe 66 minutes of shows.
We could have wrapped up this whole story in about a half hour.
About maybe 75 minutes. About 75 minutes in the
to
4
do all
episodes.
Plot points justice, we probably could have wrapped up what we've seen so far.
And they're making people wait to watch this train wreck each week for 4 more weeks.
And the catch up to the show, like previously on, it's like 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes long. It could be 15 seconds just to bloat runtime. But the thing is, even in the previously on, they repeat the same thing like 3 times in the 1.5 minutes. It's like absolutely redundant and stupid. They have told so little, and like they cannot recap their story honestly because it's already so at odds with itself and so hostile to its own continuity.
Yeah, well,
I'm
a lot of things don't make sense. What?
When I read the comment, there it says Wikipedia is going down the memory alpha route, bound to the lunacy even when it can't fit. Well, this is
it's
what
owned by
happens when
them
you
now.
put terrible people in charge of sites and places. Just like your entertainment, they infect it from within, and it's over. If you don't do anything about it, it's over. I wouldn't even use Wikipedia for anything. Don't even go many traffic. Just don't.
They're good for lifting.
It just infects everything.
Good for lifting thumbnails. About the only reason I go there. I have to ignore everything on there. It's poisoned. It's been changed. The Wikipedia people, if they're the greatest Star Trek fans out there, why do they allow their stuff to be re-edited in the middle of Star Wars Theories stream?
All right, Lee has a question for us. May I ask the panel, if any franchise that is made, do they have to reach a target, even in today's climate? How does this structure? How does this structure it work? And the panel explain and break it down.
All right, Lee Anthony Davis. Good question. Let me see if I can get this right. When you say, is there a target? Do you mean a target of money, a target of return? It seems like you can't make a movie for under $200 million if you pull it off smoothly in one round of shooting and reshoots, because one round of reshoots is included in your contract. It seems like you can't pull off a movie for under 200 million in America. That seems to be like about the going rate. So if you could somehow like manipulate your movie down below 160 million to the 140, 160 area, if you could manipulate it down to that to start off with, and then bank it with, you need star power. I don't know why, but if we could like say every movie kind of needs to make back its budget plus like 200% to really get into profitability, because there are costs in marketing, there's costs in blocking out theaters, there's costs in like, doing a publicity tour, and it costs, I don't know if it costs as much as a movie, but certainly half as much of a movie, maybe 60 to 90 million. Lately, I think we've been seeing Disney take the low road and cut back even in publicity, with their publicity becoming progressively more guerrilla, mean-spirited, grassroots, and in the form of bots and stands on X, where they feel like if they can stifle out other people, they'll somehow win.
Well, they definitely need to. And how many producers can they stick in the? Well, what 17 on that Woka Light?
I go straight back, just like when Teague and I watched the Star Trek stuff. Too many chefs in the kitchen. Like at this point, it just seems like a mix of money laundering with fanfic under somebody else's name. You
know what? I had seen we had spoken to deleted scenes, and when we were going to count the producers, he said, like a lot of like modern shows have a lot of producers, and I don't think he realized we were talking in the high teens. And also, like, there aren't too many good modern shows. The Boys is supposedly a very good modern show. There's some seasons of that a lot of people really deeply dislike. If anything, it seems The Boys is a bit bipolar, because some seasons it's very, like, people are very pleased by it, and then the next season those same people find it very annoying. Hard to really nail down.
Oh shit! I had a thought. Where was it?
Go for it.
Yeah, he died some go. Yeah, but rest in peace, Donald Sutherland.
That was a bit of a shock.
He died today.
88 years old, although his birthday was coming up July 17th, so effectively about 89. It's a shame. when anyone goes, but Donald Sutherland with almost 90 years, 89 years effectively. The thing that went through my mind was I couldn't nail down a movie that was a starring Donald Sutherland role. He's in a lot of ensemble casts. For a while, he's Canada's answer to Jack Nicholson. And then he kind of becomes like an alternative to Anthony Hopkins in a lot of movies. Plays a villain well late in his career. And he always played kind of like these weird characters and eccentric characters. And no reflection on his character. He was pretty cool, but he's in some pretty bad movies.
Disney's approach to hitting a negative didn't go until it impacted on the surface. Yeah.
Yeah, it just impacted on the surface. Absolutely. I would like to say that we can see hope down the road, but I can't see anything improving for Disney or the Acolyte. It would be nice when the Acolyte's over, and I don't. If what you're longing for, if you're thirsting for the blood of Disney, I don't know that you have anything to worry about anymore. It would seem that, quite honestly, Nelson Peltz not being not being able to take over the company may have sealed their fate. Now that he's dumped his stock, whatever it was that pumped it up, and it may have been just the amount of trading. And we don't give financial advice, but I know that when stocks flood the market, the price goes up then down. Like that's conventional wisdom. So that price going up for a little while, now it's down and it's real down, and it is not looking like it's going to rebound. It looks like it's at a stay below $100. Whether or not it does, who knows? But Disney, it may be in a death spiral. I don't see how they pull out of this. They're in the same situation as New Trek, and New Trek is only kept alive by the fact that it's attached to a successful corporation that has other shows that are good, like Yellowstone. So New Trek is this terrible thing for CBS, but they might be able to survive it. For Disney, all their stuff is horrible, and I hear that it's starting to trickle down to people don't even want to go to their parks anymore. And who can imagine why?
Huh.
If it destroys Disney in like 2 years, let's say like the fuse is lit and they can't hold it off any longer than that. If Disney's stock keeps going down and down and down, Nelson Peltz may come back with half as much money and be able to buy the whole thing. Disney is in trouble. All right. And if they fought this guy off thinking that the Acolyte was going to save them, look how terrible it is. Nelson Peltz was called out and asked directly, what do you know about making movies? And his response was, what difference does it make when they've put out nothing but failures for the last 4 straight years? And he's right. Jeff Wyatt, thank you so much.
Thank you. Watch Party Fundraising.
It's very appreciated.
Thank you, Jeff Wyatt. Yes, why later, Kronos. Thanks for explaining it to me. Yes, you're welcome, Lee. The planet's on. We got you got 25 watching on X. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all
tonight. Yeah.
And you know what? Give us your thoughts. X, we can see you. Can you see us? I'm monitoring the internal X chat too for this conversation. This time it finally deemed it to show it to me. And also, if you want to join with me, follow me here on X, and you'll get invitations to watch parties and stuff like this.
Absolutely.
Jedi Outlaw Bill is handling the YouTube side of this tonight. And we'll be back with more Wokalite, I guess, probably next. We've been doing it on Tuesdays at this point. we're not married. We're not married to that because I'm going to go out and have an opportunity to make some cash on a Tuesday. I'm going to go do that. But I do tend to be around on Tuesdays, so we might stick with it. But at this point, the only time that we're committing to definitely do it on a Tuesday for sure, and even though it probably will be like 80% likely every time it's going to be Tuesday. If something happens, we're willing to move it around at this point. But the final episode we'll do it the night it drops because we're going to be celebrating the end of it. This is some of the worst garbage. We might have to do like the Echo Base guys and only circle back to Star Wars to kick the corpse when they make it out. When they drag out the corpse of Star Wars, we'll kick it. We'll kick it. This is like during like the Dark Ages when they exhumed the former Pope and put him on trial and like dragged his corpse to the street afterwards. He'd been dead like 30 years. Like I dug him up, put him on trial, and dragged the corpse to the streets. That's just absolute madness by Disney. How do they think this is going to make them any money?
This is basically in a nutshell the burning house. Disney is actively burning down the house. They own so many IPs. They're destroying it all. You know. And it seems like there's no end in sight.
They can't keep doing this forever. And the fact is, the other thing that made their stock go up during the Peltz try-on attempt to take them over, which I maintain would have had them. He was saying things like, "Where's your Kingdom Hearts ride at your Magic Kingdom?" Kingdom Hearts is a Disney property. If you're not a gamer, you might not know of it, but Kingdom Hearts is a Disney property, and it's a video game that has done so very well, and they have not built a ride to capitalize on it. And Nelson Peltz was saying shit like saying he had like a double-edged suggestion when they said, "You don't know anything about movies. Why would you make movies?" His comeback to that was, "What difference does it make when their movies always fail?" And they said, "You don't know anything about theme parks. Why should you run a theme park?" He goes, "I know that Epcot Center is a drag that no one wants to go to, and I know that there's no Kingdom Hearts ride. How about this? Build one. Build it at Epcot Center." So Nelson Peltz was showing that you didn't need to know a whole lot about their specific business to do great at it. And what does Bob, Iger know except failure? Bob Iger is a weatherman. Disney will not only suffer as a brand name, but also their franchises and Disney parks. Would you agree, panel? We have just been talking about that a little bit. The parks seem affected by it. Now, the first thing that went to hell for them was the Hall of Presidents. And that one, I guess, is just like, I won't blame that on Disney in particular. Like, that is the political climate of America. When I first went to Disneyland and saw them, like, I forget what president it was, but like no one really gave a fuck that much about mocking him. And the Hall of Presidents was where you went to get your brain together after you paid a lot of money to go into Disneyland because it was hot as hell. And it was air conditioned in the Hall of Presidents. And you sat down there and your family's brains started to work again for a few minutes. And like this robot was like, "Welcome to the Hall of Presidents." And like, that's the first ever Disney attraction. It goes back to the 62 World's Fair in New York. It was like only Abraham Lincoln. The Hall of Presidents is like an original Disneyland attraction in both parks. So the fact that the trouble started there was sort of ironic. I blame our political environment, but it's ironic. People were beating up like the presidents. They were beating up the sitting president. It happened during the last two. Both of them were assaulted by people in the crowd. Disney, there have been violence at Disneyland to the tune of people like getting. The thing is, to go to Disneyland, they really, really squeeze you. It's about 100, 120 to walk into a park. You're an adult at like 10. They don't give a fuck. And you don't get a break. And they just beat the shit out of you. And like food costs a fortune. And it's not the greatest food. And it's not the greatest portions. And just like you gotta survive. There's like one water fountain in this whole blazing hot park in Florida. It's just it's a disaster. And if you don't spend $50 more on that fast access pass, you might hit 4 rides in a 10-hour day. It's $12 or $15 an hour for the time the park is open. Because some days the park's only open like 10, 12 hours. Like if there's an event that night, the guests have to leave so that they can start the hotel-themed party, like the Pirates party or whatever it might be. Because they do that. Or movie night at the edge of the water. We saw how that one worked out. We don't have to go back to that one. But yeah, and Disney, by the way, they own Hulu and Fox now. Why wouldn't Disney take the Fox film name and say, go out and make an edgy war movie that's not Disney-like at all, and it doesn't have to be woke or anything. Just go make some fucking money so we don't go out of business. If they don't wake up enough to at least do that, they're finished. They own all these other film houses. If you only want to release female stories of struggle from a lesbian perspective on Disney, then, let Hulu do other stories. Let Fox do other stories. They own other names. In other news, Palpatine bought out bankrupt Disney today. In a news conference, Palpatine announced that Disney will be reorganized into the first galactic theme park.
Yeah.
The attack on our stock has left Star Wars scarred and deformed. But our resolve to make bad stories has never been stronger. So this is how Disney dies, to a whimper and disregard. You know what? The thunderous applause was so long ago. Everyone's just turning away. If there's a theme song to the end of Disney, it's from like the less worthy Pink Floyd's more interesting song on the turning away. We don't have Roger Waters anymore. John Waters will be working at Disney next. We don't have Roger Waters anymore, but here's our interesting song. It's on the turning away. It's like, ugh. Everyone is just looking away in horror. Star Wars is dying with a whimper. Everyone's talking about it. People are much more interested in talking about how they want to poke it with a stick to make sure it's dead. And, hoping for next season like the way fans of a bad baseball team do. I live in Queens, all right? The New York Mets have been part of my life, all of my life, as far as understanding that there's a terrible team and knowing enough to like the Yankees. And my God, this is just like the same kind of cope. This is like, and the way they talk about how it goes wrong, like if Disney were a sports team, could you imagine if we ran a sports team the way they run Disney? Outlaw Bill, imagine for a minute we took the New York Yankees and the LA Dodgers, right, or the Raiders, and we said we're gonna run them the way Disney runs them. You came in last place. The New York Jets, you came in last place. You suck. You won like 4 games. You're terrible. What are you going to do? Well, one of the problems we have out there is our season ticket holders are kind of messed up. They're sexist and they're istophobic and they've got to go. So once we get the right season ticket holders in, the team should start to come along better. Whoa, wait, hold on. You guys lost a lot of games. That's just one thing. What are you going to do? Well, we found out that a lot of people were very unhappy with what they heard from our broadcasters. And a lot of those field goals, why couldn't they have just called them, the ones that we missed, that we shanked? They couldn't have just called those good. The officials really screwed up. But the problem was when our play-by-play guys saw the field goals miss, it would have made the fans happier if they'd said it was a field goal. But they said it missed, and that's where the unhappiness begins. So we fired our play-by-play guys. So everyone's season tickets are revoked. We're going to get new season ticket holders, and our play-by-play guys are gone. Well, what about your players in the field that didn't work? You know what? If the fans had just cheered right, if they just cheered right, we would have won. Wait, are you saying your game plans are good? Actually, our game plans were pretty good, but we've hired an all-female consultant team for next year's football playbook. That would be how Disney would run the Jets. To be fair, they'd have the same outcome as the Jets owner would, but you understand the analogy.
Right, yeah. Well, there certainly won't be another season of the Woco. I don't. I don't know. they should
Oh, they'll
fight.
for season 2. They're just moving money around.
How much longer can they burn through money?
It depends on how long people keep giving them money and how long they can keep
they
doing
came
possibly questionable tax write-off.
They came really close to getting bought, but they fended it off. The only thing they could come up with again is because of the way things are going, because they won this fight at their own expense. Other Nelson Peltz things that he bought, the takeovers were just as ugly. I believe it was Heinz. I'm not sure, but he bought a food brand, a commodity brand. Maybe it was Hormel, maybe it was Heinz. The thing was, his rhetoric was just as robust and his takeover tactics were just as direct, but they relented to Nelson Peltz and they gave him a seat in their board. The company returned the profitability underneath his watch, and he's now like considered a trusted board member, and they like him. Hello, Wes Cagle.
Hey, Wes Cagle.
Hello, gentlemen.
How the heck are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right. How's everybody been?
Good.
Doing all right.
I see where we've been talking about the train wrecks that they've been giving us anymore, huh?
Yeah, and how bad it's gotten. You know.
Hey, LDG. It has gotten really
LDG.
bad. And what we've gotten now is we've heard this toxic fan thing forever, as we know, to the point that it's not working anymore. But I think it's time for us, the so-called toxic fans, I'm going to point the finger back and say, what about you makes you anything but a failed creator? Oh, where did Wes go?
Oh,
he's still here.
Are you here? Did you switch configurations so that he doesn't have a video slot? Is that what it is? Change your default setup. He's here, but we can't see him.
Yes, I got to go to this one.
There you go.
There we go.
What you can do, or what you can do is go briefly to the other one, add a camera slot quickly, throw them on there, and you could drop me out to leave him in while you draw the camera slot if you want to change the configuration. Just put me on put me on the bench and put me back in if you want to change to show the burning house, or if you want, the panel's intact like this, the conversation can easily go forward. But
no, let's just keep it.
Cool, no big deal.
It's fine.
And again, thank you, X. That is not a misspelling. We went with downfall because one word is not enough to explain how bad it is. And 32 people over on X Live. We appreciate it. Again, X, not the most interactive of watching mediums yet. We'll get it right. We cannot write to you on X, but I am watching the internal chat, as you can see. And there's an emoji. I'm going to send a cowboy for our buddy Outlaw Josie Bill. Let's see if we see it. Let's see if it comes through on our Streamlabs because some people were complaining that we didn't see things from X. So I just made an X comment.
Okay.
It should come up, and it's not popping up in our chat. So there are two ways to have chat in X, and X needs to work on that until you see a comment from me. And I'll try another one. I'm just typing hello, and let's see if it pops up. But it would seem that the connection to X is not as great as X would like us to think, but we value you who are watching there, and we're trying to see by priming the chat. And
there we go. There we go.
Yeah. Okay, we're seeing them. If you do an emoji on you know what it is? If you do an X emoji, it won't pop up on StreamYards because StreamYards can only interpret the YouTube emojis, so it scoffs at that. But it seems like if you put in, because we couldn't have gone to the same browser. Yeah,
you're always mentioning that you're watching and you're looking and you're aware. Reminds me of this.
I'm always monitoring the comms. It reminds me of Hand Banana from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's like Star Wars comes up and Leslie Headland's got like this belt on with a protrusion on it, so to speak, and she points her finger at me and she goes, "Tonight, it's Han Banana from fucking Aqua Teen Hunger Force." There we go. Oh my god, I can't believe how fast you bought. That is the sickest episode of fucking Aqua Teen ever.
There's a follow-up episode, right?
I don't think I saw the follow-up, but I will today after we leave. We're gonna watch that fucking shit. Hey, what's Keiko, man? What do you think? Is there a sicker episode than Han Banana?
That's that whole show is just messed up. I don't know. You might have the most bizarre there.
This was the most bizarre, yeah, and it's actually intellectually it's better than most Star Wars stories. Han Banana was created in Carl's pool out of some of Carl's DNA and what like some electricity and like an AOL disk.
No, one of
That's
my
how
favorites.
old that story is.
One of my favorites is there's two of them that I really like a lot. The one with the Brood Witch and the one with the foreigner belt with the Moonanites that come down.
Any episode with the Moonanites, I was gonna say, any episode of the Moonanites is fucking great. And I was like, I consider Adult Swim to be a progressive disease. At first, you're staying up a couple of like an hour late to watch The Family Guy. Then like get sucked in and it's like 2 hours because you watch the episodes of American Dad. Then next thing you know, like you're in for a little more watching like stuff like like Aqua Teen Hunger for like well first there were other shows on before like Squidbillies is like an end stage user. That's like when you're the crackhead of Adult Swim. But yeah, somewhere in the middle there, like you start to see shows like that are Adult Swim like exclusives, like Archer, where Archer just like you're watching Archer and you're like, I don't get this show, but I'm going to give it credit. And then after like a few episodes, you start getting Archer and you're like, whoa, this show's fucking great. And now it's like your boss is like, been missing a lot of work the last few weeks. Like, well, I haven't exactly been missing it, but you know what I mean? It's like you're coming in later and later every day. It's like job performance starts to drop off late in the week because you've been like short sleeping yourself like 4 days in a row because it was so great. And then like you start like watching Venture Brothers and you're like, it's fucking when that show starts to make sense to you, that's it. Like you're now the crackhead of Adult Swim. And just like now it's just like, oh, anything for more bass, anything for more bass. Next thing you know, like you said, you're tooling around in a skirt, like showing off your wares, shaking it by the tunnel for like Squidbillies and Mr. Pickles, like the most fucked up shows in the entire world. And there's like that character from Venture Brothers. He was the wrestler who had like
Brock Sampson.
Brock. He's the second protector, right? The one who had the somewhat. Oh no, that's the guy with the military outfit.
Dr. Sergeant Hatred.
Yeah, so Sergeant Hatred has like a Megan's Law problem. It's the only way we can say it on YouTube.
Yeah. And that's what happened.
He's working it off by working for good guys. He's a reformed villain.
I started watching it because I don't know. I had tuned it on one night, and Full Metal Alchemist was on because they used to do the anime in the beginning, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And then the other shows started coming on. I'm like, "Whoa!" And I got exactly like you said. I got deeper every time I watch it. And I'm watching stuff like Moral Oral, and I'm watching Metalocalypse.
Americans.
God.
Yeah, it just keeps getting. It gets worse and worse. It's a progressive addiction. Next thing you know, you're out of work, and you're like, "Well, now I can watch Adult Swim. Fuck that job of mine." And you're like, your girlfriend's like, it's like sex seems like a perfunctory thing to just get you through. Like till Adult Swim comes on, and you'd be like, "Come on, baby, I'll love you till 11:30." I'm not saying it was cited into my divorce. Oh, no problem. We appreciate it. Please come on back, Lee. And thank you for subbing my channel. I appreciate it. Or was that 4K1? Was that Mark? Everybody, thanks. Anyway, I give everyone credit for it. Everyone gets a membership to my channel. You get a membership. You get a membership. Everyone's allowed to subscribe for free. You'll get taller and smarter, and some of your hair will grow back. And your boobs will get bigger if you're a woman. My channel has been proven to do this.
Let me ask you this, Wes. Yeah. What was the most cringeworthy bit of television that you've seen in recent years?
Well, considering the fact that I literally stopped watching television of any kind in about 2008, 2010, I don't watch anything. I'm sorry. I was watching NCIS up until Weatherly left, but I don't
Ducky
watch any
died?
television.
So-
So the only thing I get is from what you guys show me. So
What stopped you from what stopped with NCIS? Was it because they just started like rerunning the same old ground? Was it when Abby left, or was it when just Jethro became preposterously old at the same time? Once watched NCIS.
Once all the characters I loved were gone. I mean, the crew that was there for the longest time, Jethro and Ziva,
right.
and right. Michael Weatherly's character and Abby,
right,
and
the guy who goes on to be on Bull.
Yeah, all of them.
Ducky,
all of them were great.
Ducky was great.
Yep. But once there was nothing but Gibbs left, I was like, this isn't the show. This isn't.
I would say one blow the show took was adding the chick who was supposed to be an Israeli secret agent.
Well, that is the thing.
Was so woke and annoying with the short hair, and she was obnoxious and upstaging her boss all the time and being snark. And the only thing that made that character tolerable was that she sometimes got her comeuppance.
That
show's been on for so long.
Are you talking about Ziva, or are you talking about another one? Because I don't know if they added.
I think they bring in. I think this is the replacement for the first tough chick.
Oh yeah.
One person on
she was my favorite.
NCIS is always a pretty tough alpha chick.
Yeah, no, that was the original for the first.
The original chick was cool.
Kate, she was my favorite, but I actually like Ziva. As a matter of fact, Ziva is front and center of one of my favorite episodes. It was called something about, I think, Three Kings, something about the king. It was a Christmas episode where there was a Marine and she was pregnant with a supposed they were out to get her because she was carrying the supposed heir to some land in the Middle East, and it was really important. They ended up at a Gibbs delivers her baby in like a garage, and Ziva just, she kicks ass in this episode. It was really good. It was really cool.
My favorite episode. That is cool. My favorite episode,
season 4 or 5, maybe.
My favorite episode of NCIS is there's like a bunch of bad sailors. What else? And they are bringing back heroin from Afghanistan. What else? That's like 1/3 of all NCIS episodes. And they're like, the real problem is this guy McGurk, which I don't remember his name, but this guy McGurk. And they're like, well, let's go check him out. Like whatever his name is. And like, they're like, McGurk, we want to talk to you. And he turns around and it's like, can I help you? And it's like, oh, fuck, it's Trip. It's Trip. It was Colin Trinier.
Oh, Trip from Enterprise.
Yeah, he murdered somebody on fucking NCIS. And my mom was like, because I would watch that show with my mom sometimes. So that's how I know NCIS, right? Like it's cool. And I've watched it a few times on my own. Just it is a good show, but like mostly I've watched it with my mom. And like one of the first times that I really got into it enough to want to watch it again on my own was I'm watching an episode. And the bad guy's Trip. It's Trip. And I'm like, I yell, it's Trip. And my mother was like, you told me you'd stop doing that. I'm like, no, that was his name on Enterprise. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it was a Star Trek show. And she's like, oh. And then like the other episode of that I really dig is the episode starts and they call Jethro on the phone. And he's all pissed off because he can't work on his Viking longboat because that's what Jethro does in his spare time.
Yep.
And then like he hangs up the phone and the camera pulls back and it's Zora from Blade Runner is sitting there having a glass of wine waiting for him to finish working on his boat so I'll fuck her. And I'm like, just fuck her already, you idiot. Did you ever see that one?
It was a good show. But if you're asking what's the most cringe thing that I've seen from you guys showing, it's got to be this new Acolyte show. God.
Yeah.
I've
it
never
beats
seen
New Track, really?
Holy crap. Oh, God. I mean, this is. I have never seen something. They've always destroyed what's come before, but this is literally pissing on the ashes at this point. Holy
yeah, it is.
Crap.
Yeah, I mean, Shooter McGavin style. Absolutely. They burned Star Wars down so they could piss on the ashes.
God,
And Leslie
it is
Headland's
terrible.
got her sheeness out.
Yeah, it is terrible. It is god awful.
So do you have any streaming services?
Well, I'm at my brother's place now. I've been staying here for a while. And he's got like a whole bunch of things. But I don't know what is the Acolyte on? What service is that?
It's Disney.
Yeah, it's Disney Plus.
He might have Disney Plus. He doesn't have Paramount because I tried to watch. I was trying to watch Voyager for the streams for Saturday Night Star Trek, but to refresh myself. But he doesn't have just Paramount, but he does have Disney, I think. So I can watch that train wreck, but I don't know if I can bring myself. I mean,
I'm considering adding one episode of Voyager of their 4 to the end of my show when I do the Teague Saturday Cinema for people who are fans of that. Because I love Star Trek too, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm considering adding, because I'm not going to change my show and do 4, but I do love Star Trek, so I might throw like a 4th and long and nice. Pick one of their 4 episodes. Well, one of them will definitely be good, right? Because that's the thing with Voyager. If we have 4 episodes, one will be like bad but funny, one will be bad. One will be decent but flawed, and one will be real good.
Yeah, well, I'm realizing now with all the garbage that's been thrust on us. Voyager isn't as bad as I've been bagging on it for all these years.
I have always been very pro Voyager, and I feel it's slightly better show for show than Deep Space Nine. It doesn't get as good. Its highs aren't as high, but its lows aren't as low, and it's more consistent. And stuff like Captain Proton starts to save the show. Honestly, early on when Tom Paris acts like an infant, that shit didn't work after a while. It got really annoying. Like the 10th time he yelled at Chakotay like a little baby. And I'm like, come on already. You can't not just bust this guy down. When they changed that to Tom Paris could work with his boss and be respectful, but he was a big kid who loved 20th century TV and was a little bit into his girlfriend, like obsessively. I was like, this is a more enjoyable, immature, so to speak, character. He's learned how to be mature in his immaturity. He focuses on his girlfriend, and he's got like one hobby that's a little bit silly, but it's fun. And it's not his fault that the Voyager's holodeck makes the circumstances of Captain Proton control their destiny too many times. They keep going to the well with it. I would never get on that holodeck if I was on that
holodeck. Yeah, the holodeck on the Voyager. It's got to look like a Jackson Pollock painting under a black light. God.
There's so much sex on that. How many times does Harry Kim fall in love with that? But it's Shakespeare. Yeah, like I have talked about this, and I think I first proposed this when I was a guest on Jill's channel when we were talking about old Trek versus new Trek. I said, old Trek is so bad.
Dip out for now.
It was so good
later,
to see you, Cyrus.
Yeah. Catch you guys later.
All right.
Later, Cyrus.
Have a good evening.
Bye, buddy.
He was showing. Did you see he had Space Ghost Coast to Coast on his thing for a while?
Yes. He was doing a great job with that.
How I can do that.
Oh, you were on Jill's stream and you were mentioning
something? I elaborated this idea. Old Star Trek was so good. Let me propose this business plan and see who would join in on it. What if we had a medieval times like theater with an arena, and we would do an episode of original Star Trek there, one that involved some fighting, one that had some physicality. So you would go to this restaurant. No, I think PDB and I figured this out on Saving Star Trek, watching Picard. That Star Trek is so marketable, you could have a Star Trek like dinner theater, and it would be like an arena, and you would have a Klingon section, a Vulcan section, and a Romulan section. And the food would be different in each, and all the servers would be cosplayers who would be Klingons and Romulans and Vulcans. Cool. You know what I mean? That's cool. Yeah, and you try to immerse everyone as fully as you can. Like, I guess you'd go TOS Klingons because it'd be a TOS theater, right?
Yeah.
Keep it easy and attainable, right? And like in the Klingon section, you'd have Klingon themed food,
Right.
and like someone like Snail could come up with a way to make gak and make it good, make you enjoy it, like simulate the look of the Klingon worm food, simulate its look, but give it some flavor. Maybe by noodles, maybe with gummy worms. Who knows? But to make you something you can enjoy in the theater, right?
Right.
In the Klingons, in the Romulan section, you'd be able to get like steak because they're the opposite of Vulcans. Just assume they like meat, and then the Vulcan section's for vegetarians. It'd be the smallest section.
What section? I have to ask you guys. Which section would the two of you sit in?
I'd sit in the Romulan section to meet chicks. Any chick in the Romulan section is going to be hot to trot, and the Romulan servers will.
I guess I'd be there too.
How about you, Wes?
I don't know. I think being a human, I might sit in the Vulcan section as a human, given the fact that their females only get it every 7 years, and I'm ready to go all the time.
Yeah, you're right. Well, their females are ready to go according to Enterprise. They're males.
Yep.
But their females have like minimal sex drive unless they get hooked on space crack for a little while, like T'Pol did. T'Pol, remember, wasn't all that frisky until she got hooked on space crack. Remember that weird arc where she got hooked on space crack and she was like,
it was the same compound that you had to use to coat the hull or something, wasn't it? So that they could.
They had found a Vulcan. They found a Vulcan ship that had been built using it as shielding of some component.
Yes, so they could be safe from the anomalies.
Right, it broke inside of inside of their ship, like whatever their component was inside their ship, it broke, and it filled the ship with like microscopic particles of the dust, and it made them all crazy and emotional, and they like deleted each other.
Yep.
And so in the episode of Enterprise, she gets a dose of it, and it makes her emotional, and she kind of likes emotions, and she gets hooked on emotions. And then, like, the next thing we know, she's smoking it as space crack. And I'm like, whoa, like, that was enough to kill the whole crew of the other ship. But I digress. Let's see. Mark 4KI1 says, Star Trek has room for a fun-loving guy who gets work done. It can't support self-entitled crybabies who don't pull their weight. New Trek is all self-entitled little pricks who can't actually do. Boy, I couldn't agree more. And if I was captain of a New Trek ship, I would honestly, I'd come on and I'd just delete 2 crew members. I'd just be like, all right, anyone else got anything to say? Just walk on the bridge and delete 2 crew members immediately. Just like when you walk on the ship, just have your hands behind your back. And like they are all fucked up with their uniforms. So like if I was stuck in the New Trek world, I would just walk onto a starship and I'd be like, I'm the captain. And they'd be like, what are you talking about? And I'd just be like, I'm the captain. They're like, what do you mean?
I'm the captain.
And just like blow the person away, right? I would wear like a U-boat commander's jacket, and I would just like walk onto the bridge, and I'd be like, I hereby take command of this ship, and they'd be like, what? And I'd be and then I was like, and like, because I know how they operate, I'd be like, anyone else got any shit to say? All right, standard orbit. And I'd sit down in the chair, and the moment I sat down in the chair, their minds would reset, and they'd be like, he's the captain. And no one would bother me again, and it would be because I said so. And I'd be like, yeah, that's right, I'll blow away another one of your strong women if anyone has anything to fucking say. And I'd turn to my all-female bridge crew, and I'd be saying, look, we're going to learn the meaning of the word bye here, because this whole lesbian crew thing, it's not working for me. But you know what? I'm not going to stop you from anything you like, but maybe we're going to watch some porn together later. But
hey, I have a question to pose you guys. Speaking of female crew, and I've thought about this. I thought
women on the bridge.
You have Nurse Chapel was not a main character, but she was quite often in the show.
She's bigger than someone like, say, Riley, so she's pretty big. You're right. She makes it to the animated series, and Chekhov doesn't. So you got to say she's just like about on the same level or a little higher than Chekhov. She doesn't make it too far into movies, though.
Right. But I have to ask, because Majel Barrett, she played two different characters. In the first pilot, she was number one, and then she became Nurse Chapel in the series. I like her character I liked her as number one, like 1,000 times better than her Nurse Chapel character. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Okay. I didn't know they were the same person. I didn't know they were the same person.
Yeah, she played number one. I thought that was a really good character.
She is a really good actress because I didn't know they were the same person. But when I first saw these episodes, I was single digit age, right? I've always loved Star Trek, and it was in syndication when I was a kid. So as a really little kid, I didn't know they were the same person. So I'd have to say I love both, and I think that she's a commanding actress. And I would say my favorite Majel Barrett character is actually...
No, don't say it, Troy's mom. God, I hate that character. Don't say
the Enterprise D.
The Enterprise. So you like Troy's mom?
I like her as the voice of the Enterprise D.
As a computer.
But
right.
honestly, when they get Troy correct, when they get Troy's mom right, she's in a lot of episodes that don't work, but they think on that, and so like honestly, Menage a Troy is fun. That's like the least annoying episode with Deanna. Deanna is annoying all the time. Even back before we knew what Marina Sirtis was like, Deanna's stories never were truly fulfilling to me. They were like, next week we'll see someone else. Maybe but the ones with her when she was with her mother, she at least we could say Troy was at her best. She was funny. Those episodes that were intended to be purely comedic were funny. Majel Barrett was funny. When she with that Ferengi and they're all naked and she's acting crazy and Riker's just resigned to the fact that he has to deal with this shit and he's like he has no power to do anything about this. But think about the laughter you're having. Like she honestly. There are episodes that failed. They misused Lwaxana Troi once or twice, but once they get her down, and we've got stuff like Mr. Hom is the guy from the 90s Addams Family. He's hilarious. I do love Lwaxana Troi, but she's not like the Enterprise D, followed by probably Nurse Chapel, because Nurse Chapel was such a good origin story and such a good episode of the original series. It's one of the very best episodes. What Are Little Girls Made Of? So
the one where they go down to that planet to find her fiance or ex-fiance or whatever.
Yeah, and he's become a robot supremacist.
Jedi Bill, which do you prefer? I like I said, the question was to both of you guys.
It's Outlaw Bill.
I'm sorry. That's right. You evolved. You're in your final form now. This is my ultimate form.
Use the slur.
I forgot. Jedi is a bad is a derogatory term now.
It is.
Jedi.
Jedi.
All right, but the question still the query still stands. Which one would you prefer?
I don't know.
What Majel Barrett character? So there's in Star Trek, Outlaw Bill he knows a little TOS, and he knows the movies.
He may not have seen
she's not in the movies.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He's seen him. He just doesn't. We'd have to explain. It's the one where he knows this Star Trek to a point, and he knows the Star Trek movies. He can enjoy them to no end. But like in general,
if you don't know,
Star Wars was his thing, and that's kind of why I feel for my friend here. This is hurtful. As much as we've had a good time laughing about it, like afterwards to hear how upset he is about what they did to his show.
Yeah.
Because like we have to like not get kicked off the air for what we say on the air. You have to know that after every show for about an hour we both yell at each other about how angry we are. We're laughing, but we're crying inside and dying inside.
I self-canceled anything Star Wars anymore.
Oh God,
from Disney because it's there's no point. It's a game over. It's done. It's the fan fiction that they're running, and
And when you say game over, we're spelling that GAYME.
Now, what's
we have to put it in everywhere.
How far, like when we talk about Star Trek, we should talk about Star Trek on Clobbering Times channel. It was always considered that Star Trek finished in 2005. Where do you consider the cutoff on Star Wars? Is it The Force Awakens? Is it Rogue One? Is it before that? I mean,
Clone Wars movie in theaters is the
Yeah,
end.
that was what, 2007, 2007.
Yeah.
Well,
I would rather say Revenge of the Sith because it's a little bit better, a lot better. Revenge of the Sith is a really, really good movie and the best live action prequel, and about as good as Return of the Jedi, in my opinion.
They had some good video games come out of what was it, 2010 with
and they're canonical, I guess.
Force Unleashed. The Force Unleashed was a very good video game. Which
what platform
the
was
game?
that?
What was what?
What platform?
It was on PlayStation 4 and Xbox 360.
Oh, okay.
The Star Wars games are usually on across platforms.
Okay.
This one was
cool.
Because the EA has the contract, so for the most part, like if Star Wars was a Sony movie, like anything Sony is only on PlayStation, right? Like you're not going to get an. Now maybe X-Men will show up on PlayStation, on Xbox, but wow, X-Men couldn't be on Xbox till they got bought by someone who wasn't Sony. That's funny, but this, I guess, I would have to say this: they're still not going to have a Fantastic Four movie anyone's going to see. Nothing about this is screaming anything good to me. This should be another woke disaster. Fantastic Four, based on the chronology of events, maybe that will be the final implosion. But this Captain America movie, if it keeps bleeding money like it is without ever being able to be released, when is the release now? Summer 2026?
I don't know.
It's not even early. It's not even holiday this year anymore. Disney stock going up. They can't cancel anything else. They have nothing left to cancel except their own selves.
There you go. That background says it all. There you go.
There you
That's
go.
it.
By the way, I demand you make my talk box bigger. Bastard.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys like I said, I appreciate the prequels. Attack of the Clones is my least favorite of the original 6, but I enjoyed The Force Awakens and I enjoyed Rogue One. The other ones were, especially The Last Jedi and Soy Walker. I ain't watching. I haven't even watched The Rise of Soy Walker. God, it's
that one, because Star Wars was so broken. I hate to say this. I don't mean to take this out on any of our friends. I felt your pain, but I felt it during Last Jedi. There was still a lot of cope going on, and I had been getting blasted for about 5 years by the time that last Rise of Skywalker came out. I had been getting blasted by Star Wars fans who were like, first of all, saying that J.J. Abrams was a good writer and that Star Trek was bad.
Wait.
And I was
Let me
like,
hold my sides here.
Yeah, I was like, how could these people not be fans of both? I thought everybody who liked one liked the other, and I'm like, shit, this stuff I've been reading that I didn't really take regard of, that there was more Star Wars fans than Star Trek fans by a lot. Guess it's true. And I was just like, didn't you see those Star Trek movies? And they're like, yeah, finally I bothered with a Star Trek movie and it was finally good because all the others are stupid. I would never bother watching them. I was like, wait, you said they were stupid and you would never bother, but you would also never bother watching them. Which one is it? They're stupid. I would never watch them. Did you watch them? They're stupid. Well, what do you mean? And they're like, people actually on the days of Facebook, I was getting confronted for being depressed. People told me, I said, I just saw the trailer for the new Star Wars movie and it doesn't look very good. And people were like, you're depressed. And like, why do you have to bring everyone else down with your negativity? No one admits that now. Every single person said they smelled something was up after the trailer for Force Awakens. And they went to see Force Awakens with their fingers crossed. And they left the movie theater less than satisfied. Y'all were fucking hooting and howling about how the fucking Star Wars is good again. Go back. There's still YouTube videos up there from people saying it. Plenty of people thought that movie was fucking great. It was a terrible fucking movie. But
really, I liked it. I actually enjoyed that one. I mean,
it was better than his last movie.
It's just a remake of New Hope, but it was still enjoyable. The only thing I had a problem with was not the fact that they killed Solo off, but how they killed him off. That's the only issue I had with the whole thing.
Lightsaber blade like an idiot. I don't like how it's already subverting Star Wars because we say we should take that quad hopper to escape the First Order. And then he goes, what about that ship? And we don't see it. And she goes, we can't take that. That's garbage. And then they blow up the quad hopper, and she goes, the garbage will do. And we turn, and it's the Millennium Falcon. And then she's immediately able to.
She knows everything. She says stupid lines.
He can't fucking align the gun, but she turns the ship so that he gets a double kill on his first shot out of that cannon, if I remember correctly. And it's like those were the only 2 TIE fighters Kylo Ben sent after them. It was so fucking stupid. I was like, why not? Why is he sending 5 guys? Why isn't he blanketing the planet? And why did nobody search that tiny section of the map that's missing that everyone knows is missing? The only thing in question is this small section of the galaxy map. It's like 9 solar systems. What? How strong is this fucking faction?
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. And then in the middle of the second movie, it gets so bad when they go to the casino planet. It's like, oh my God, there's a trip to Atlantic City. And I've got my head in my hands. And I start thinking about how stupid it is. And I'm like, well, I guess the First Order is pretty cool. And I'm like, wait a minute. What do they do? And then like it dawns on me, and it plays out till the end of the sequels. We never see life on a First Order planet. All we find out about them is that their capital is a giant starship, which was pretty cool and could have gone somewhere, but they never tell us anything more. Why do they Star Wars? We don't know why they Star Wars. We don't know why. We got more, and this is the thing I always say. That story was so bad that people want to say that Roland Emmerich is no George Lucas. Maybe, but he's definitely better than all the people from Star Wars now, because in about 1 minute in Independence Day, we learn more about the Harvester aliens than we ever do about the First Order. They're like locusts. Their entire society goes from planet to planet and takes all the resources. And we're next. And that's it. And we know more about them than we ever find out about the First Order. Think about it. In 3 lines of exposition, Roland Emmerich, who's a poor man's George Lucas, their traits and their good and bad qualities almost line up. Bad dialogue, both of them. You know, they go a bit too far in a few places, both of them. Spectacle, both of them. Action, both of them. And the beginning of ID4 is just like shot for shot a recreation of the beginning of A New Hope with that ship coming in overhead, headed towards Earth. It really is. I mean, he adds his own twist to it, but he's a lot like George Lucas, and they couldn't get that across. I'm saying at this point, Star Wars should fire everyone and hire Roland Emmerich to develop their new stories. Moonfall is better than the last. Moonfall is better than the last Star Wars story.
That movie was
It'd be better. If that was Star Wars Moonfall, people would defend it. People would stand for that movie and be like, "You just don't understand. The Force could make that moon fall." If we changed it from a CGI alien that the Chinese could control. Hey, you don't like the fact that you don't like strong women like Halle Berry? I mean, he should be.
That trope is so done and tired.
Moonfall is bad, but it's still a better story than The Last Jedi.
Don't get me started on The Last Jedi. I think that might have been the last movie I actually went to in the theaters, and I walked out. It's only one of 2 movies I've ever walked out on. Oh God! I walked out on that, and I walked out on Jason Takes Manhattan.
That was a long time ago. I saw that in theaters. I almost walked out. I saw the first 2 prequels in theaters because people paid for me to see it. They thought I was suffering from depression because I kept saying that J.J. Abrams sucked and the movies would be terrible. And they're like, the trailer was great. And I'm like, I bet you none of that trailer was in the movie. They're like, what makes you say that? I'm like, I've seen a couple of J.J. Abrams movies. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, don't want to say anything. And they're like, come on. What did you see? That movie with the little kids was good. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And they're like, what movie are you talking about? It's like, Star Trek. What? Star Trek? And they're like, oh, that was a great fucking movie. I'm like, fuck you. You know? I hated his Star Trek movies, and I knew that he would destroy Star Wars. So by the time Rise of Skywalker came out, I wish I'd seen it in theaters. I would have been fucking crowing. I would have been dancing in the aisles, be like, fuck all you people. You called me a fucking lunatic. I would have like been, and people, no one would have stopped me because it would have been better than the movie. I'd be like, I want to say fuck you to all you Star Wars fans. You called me a deranged lunatic for calling J.J. Abrams an idiot. What do you say now? They can't go up. They don't have a window in that goddamn starship of theirs. A helium balloon.
God. Oh,
they didn't
fire,
know how to go up.
I mean, Alkalite had fires in space.
That show has no relationship with fire.
Skywalker had space horses, and they could fly now. Stupid lines like "they fly now."
That's instead of a certain point of view, it might be too dignified. Our show should be called "They Fly Now," the Star Wars watch party. Oh, that's getting a laugh. A certain point of view is too dignified. It's "They Fly Now." Ladies and gentlemen, we're changing the name of our Star Wars show. It's called "They Fly Now," the Acolyte Watch Party.
They fly now. Monkeys flying out of our ass. There you go.
Well, what I usually do with Star Trek is I don't like to put the name of their show in my show title because I'm a little bit more successful for my level than they are. So I don't. I'm being honest. Yeah. I've sometimes gotten retweeted by people who have like a lot of followers. Like Doomcock sometimes will comment on my stuff. Other people have so the Nerdrotic liked a couple of tweets here and there. So like if I say something like I was hoping "don't thread on me" would catch someone's attention because changing the force to the thread is unacceptable, but. You know, I didn't want to put Star Trek Discovery.
Don't thread on me.
Don't thread on me.
Don't thread on me, but come scissor me. Don't thread on me, but come scissor me.
If you guys use that name,
is the scissors.
If you guys use that name, you've got to make a modified Gadsden flag for that for a thumbnail.
That would be hilarious.
I wanted to call it "Running with Scissors."
Oh God, no! That's just too on the nose.
Hey,
I called the witches nightmare fuel, reminding me of the last time lesbians ruined my night. Quote, and that would be back in Catholic school. The last time a bunch of lesbians in a crazy coven ruined my life was Catholic school.
Flying Monkeys Proving Wizard Oz is set in Star Wars. John Street.
Flying monkeys.
Don't thread on me.
Make a trend, guys. Make a trend. Doomcock, help me, Doomcock, help me, Doomcock.
God, I forgot. Me and Teague share that Catholic school background. God.
We went I you know what? I gotta be honest, when Pope was it John Paul II was like, we may have gone a bit too far in a few places, as George Lucas has said, in the Catholic schools in the Americas. And it's like, oh wow, that made me feel better. And then they're like, the new Pope is an ex-Nazi. And I'm like, holy shit, that sounds pretty horrible. He must be, I bet you he's gonna take back that apology. And he comes out and he's like, wow, he's really good at holding up that right hand for the blessing. I wonder where. Oh, I know where he learned it. And then he's like, we may have gone a bit too far in a few places in the American church. And I'm like, holy fuck, the Nazi thinks it's wrong. And then it's like the new Pope is from South America. And I'm like, this guy might be different. And he's like, hey, I'm a little more approachable and different than the other guys. But we really fucked up in the 70s back in the American church and in the schools. And I'm like, okay, that's 3 for 3. And then we've made John Paul II a saint. And I'm like, wow, a guy who sounded just like Dracula from that fucking Francis Ford Coppola movie became a saint. Anybody can do it. I'm still in the running. And but the thing was, like, I was like, all right, so Catholic school really was as bad as I thought.
No, you know,
they tried to change. They tried to change. Just got to say it.
Sorry, but you have to admit there was a lot more. I'm sorry, a lot less nutso people running around when, you know, corporal punishment was a thing still.
Maybe, but I mean, I think the corporal punishment might have been like, it wasn't as important as the fact that there might have been non-corporal punishment ways to still make sure you learn math well. That you can memorize all the multiplication up to 10 and 12. You know what I mean? You can memorize all spelling.
Right. I'm not saying that they didn't go too far. The beatings that they gave because you couldn't learn were brutal. But I mean, I was a little shit. To put it in not so delicate terms. I was a little terror, and I deserved every beating that those nuns gave me. Not because I was a bad student as far as learning, but because I was a terrible little snot.
Yeah,
I wanted to disrupt the class.
My own personal the experience aside, let's just say this. When corporal punishment was going on, they also had a much stronger curriculum that made more sense. Mm-hmm. And even though like okay, certain modern books that we read hadn't been written yet, the books of the time were much better. Like, I'm pretty sure kids have been reading The Great Gatsby since within 20 years of the publishing of The Great Gatsby. I'm pretty sure that by World War II or 1950, every single person was reading The Great Gatsby in high school. Mm-hmm. And it's like, some of these books are like generationally unifying. Benjamin Button seems to keep making a consistently better movie than the repeated attempts at Gatsby, but that's a different story. So people were much more literate. Like, think about like Ken Burns' Civil War. Like, some of those people who are just like, the diary of like the American Revolution one. It's like, you hear this really great diary entry. It's like, the redcoats were silhouetted against the purple sky at the early morning light. Their bayonets glittering in the sun. Joseph Plum Martin. And I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. Every single person was like a great diarist and a great writer back in the day. So
I think they had command of the language back then.
Yeah. So like when Tolkien, here's the thing, Tolkien, or like The Hobbit, is a children's book designed for a 3rd to 6th grader of the 1930s. Mm-hmm. And now we just about 100 years later, you give that book to a fucking 4th grader.
Yeah, he won't know what the fuck to do with it. I'm sorry. My bad.
I read The Hobbit in 4th grade, but my parents had to come back and read it again with me. You know what I mean? Mm. But I saw like the cartoon, so I wanted to read the book, and I got through it, and I understood most of it. But I read it again now, and I'm like, there's a lot I missed because I was a kid. And right after The Ring, the whole story turns dark.
Yeah,
it's darker. And the second half of the story is darker. By the way, did you know that story's retconned?
Oh yeah, there were different. It evolved over it. Probably if you get an older,
the first edition, the ring's not the one ring.
It's a little different. Yes, it's different. It is different.
It's not the one ring. Yeah, and I think Gandalf, it has a jewel on it too. I think in the first iteration.
That Rankin Bass cartoon is really good. It still holds up today.
It's really inspirational. Yeah, it's for kids from like 1st to 5th, 4th or 5th grade, but it's good. I wish they had stuck with the combat and not copped out on that though. Mm. We don't see the Clash of the Armies. Ralph Bakshi did that, but right. I don't know if that movie was quite as good as I wanted it to be. It was never bad.
Ralph Bakshi film was great. I actually think it actually holds closer to the books than the Jackson films. And I wish we had gotten part 2. He had planned on doing two part, because if you look, the Bakshi film covers all of Fellowship and half of Two Towers, so he would have just had to do one more. but we never got it. So unfortunately, I wish we had. But what are you gonna do? We don't always get what we want. So, but
there was a whip, yeah, the evil orcs.
yeah, no, they it was a good job. I think they did I think he did a really good job as far as storytelling. And if you look at it, it covers all of the first of the Jackson films and half of the Two Towers. Now, how long are both the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers of the Jackson films? I mean, you're talking, they're 3 hours long each, and so you're talking.
So
what,
they're like kind of so much longer than that. Yeah.
But
the theatrical ones are like 2:25, I think.
The Bakshi film's only an hour and a half, and it's so much more complete because the Jackson films leaves out things that it needed to keep in and adds stuff that should never have been there.
I don't think either of them have Bombadil though.
No. Yeah, I do wish they had added that, and I really wish that the Scourging of the Shire had been in somewhere, but.
The Scourging of the Shire, I wish could have been in that movie. We saw it in Galadriel's Mirror.
Yeah,
we saw it. I've come to this point with the Lord of the Rings movies. I liked them in the theaters right away. And I was rereading the trilogy while the movies were coming out. So by the second one, I had been through them. So the first movie is fairly faithful to the book. Only the storm being caused by Saruman is different in the theatrical release, as far as I could remember, because we didn't have special edition for a while on that one.
All of Arwen's stuff is complete bullshit in the movie.
Right. I needed that. I needed to remember that one, but I didn't. I was like, no big deal. I hadn't finished my literary journey of Middle Earth yet to realize that Glorfindel is this huge fucking figure.
Yeah,
the Arwen character gets the role of a huge fucking figure, and the only person Tolkien ever made a mistake about that I know of, he had to fucking write to his editor and explain why that name got replicated, because Glorfindel dies in the Silmarillion.
Yes, he does. Yeah,
he dies and also fighting a Balrog.
Batchy gets it wrong too, because he makes the elf that's Glorfindel, he makes it Legolas.
He gives it Legolas.
Yeah.
The thing is, Glorfindel is such an important and powerful character that Tolkien may have made a mistake reusing the name. And the thing was, the only reason it mattered was because he intended the Silmarillion still be published. He works on that till the day he dies. Edits that shit for 60 years. But basically what happens is his first novel gets rejected as too boring and too like, Byzantine for people to relate to. And they might have had a point, because it takes to page 72 or 3 of the Silmarillion for him to break into his style that we're familiar with and be somewhat enjoyable. And even that is really slow with the Noldor and stuff like that. It's really interesting, but it's slow. And it's only at the end of the book where it becomes fragmentary. We get like chapters left out of Lord of the Rings, chapters left out of The Hobbit. And that stuff is definitely interesting to even everyday Tolkien fans. You got to really love Tolkien to read like the first 70 pages of the Silmarillion. But it sets up like this world that makes sense. And Glorfindel dies saving all of the elves from an orc attack. And like all the men go out there to hold off the orcs, and a fucking Balrog gets into Gondolin. And it's about to kill the women and children, and he stands alone against it, and he holds it back, and he dies. And when they recycled him in Fellowship of the Ring, he had to explain why they used him twice. So the Tolkien version is that he was sent back with Gandalf, Saruman, and Radagast, and the blue guys.
All right. Well, we've been going for quite some time, and
it
might be time to bring this full circle. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Hollywood's going to continue to burn. They'll stay woke for God knows how long, and we know the story with Disney and their shows. It's just gonna get worse and not good. But
Yeah.
we thank you all for tuning in tonight. Appreciate each and
Thank
every
you,
one of
everyone.
you.
Josh Street, for Mark, for KIY1,
Yeah.
LDG, of course.
He said
Anthony
check
Davis.
a DM. Jeff White.
Of course, Jeff Wyatt. Thank you so
Yeah.
very, very much for the generous $10 chat. Kronos, what can I say, my friends? We'll see. We have reached the other side of the black hole. We're right there, burning in hell with you, Kronos. Right there with your avatar. Lee Anthony Davis, my friend. Thank you so very, very much.
Connie
Kim was here, FKHC, Connie Cleary, David Quintana, all of you
David.
who were so kind as to join us. It has been absolutely outstanding to have been your Star Trek and Star Wars, for the most part, hosts tonight. You had a lot of different
Dadman
choices.
Walking, 50 Dadman Walking,
Admiral Teague. Oh wait, that's me. Mark Harkness, my friend Mark Harkness. Wes Cagle in the chat and on the panel.
Even that Scotty guy who had to get the first comment in.
Our pal deleted
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was great talking to you guys. It was great.
Oh, it's a great time.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Yeah.
Oh, Tig, did you want to join me for another House of Dragon come Sunday?
I am so watching Hot D. That show is fucking great. I don't know, listen, I've seen what went wrong with Game of Dragons. Game of Thrones. I didn't watch that firsthand. That was on a service I didn't have, and I'm jumping in now. Right. I've been watching Nerdporial Lifeform stuff to try to get up to speed. There's a lot of fucking lore going on here, but
I know.
I now mostly know who the players are. If we don't expand this, if the other factions just stay peripheral. If we keep it to Dreadlock Biden, Queen Elsida, and Queen Rhaenyra, I will be able to track those factions. And of course, my favorite guy of all, Matt Smith. I need him to say fuck this week. But I think
at least 5 times.
Well, I don't know if he's going to do that anymore, because here's what I'm wondering is, I think that he's changed a little because of what happened to his son, and he's not as happy and upbeat anymore, because when he was murdering and killing people, he was at his best, and he's been repressed, and he's depressed now, and he doesn't do the things that make him happy, like curse and chop people's heads.
And it's a show that's led by women in a good way.
It's led by women, but a lot of them are in traditional female roles. Not every kingdom has a queen. And we got one kingdom that's led by Dreadlock Biden. He has to sleep in a big thing of CBD. Have you watched Hot D, Wes Cagle?
No, I haven't. I was going to ask you guys if you're enjoying it. I mean, like I said, I don't watch.
I have been enjoying it since season 1. Yes.
It's a heavy dose of spectacle. We started out with some stuff that you would think that no show could come back for, with a bloody fucking miscarriage. And I'm like, when this horrible when she pulls this horrible deformed baby out of herself, and it's like she's kind of almost passing out, and she drops it and hits the floor, and it makes the grossest sound ever. I'm like, and I shall name thee Star Trek Discovery. And I was like, and I was just like, this show is so much better than the rest of what I watched. I was still kind of freaking out because it was so weird, but within a few minutes, a few interesting things happened, and Matt Smith was like, go fuck yourself. And I was like, wow, that's fucking great. This guy's awesome. And the show rebounded from the weirdness that I saw, and it wasn't all pure weirdness, blood, and grossness. It was nice. It was enjoyable. And the horrible stuff, they spared us. Like the plot of last week's episode, there's no more spoilers as we're days away from the other episode. Can I spoil it? You have 1 minute. You have 20 seconds to tune out. Last week's episode, we saw basically, I guess it's they're about 12, but I guess it counts as infanticide is the only way to say it without getting in trouble on YouTube. We saw that, but they spared us, and it was done in a way that was really good camera work. As it's about to happen, the lead point of view character runs out of the room and it passes out of frame as we see them move in to do the dirty deed. And we just gets confirmed that that's what happened later. We don't have to see it. If that was Star Trek Discovery, we would have seen every second of that. If that was, Star Wars, every second of it, because it's so horrible. Those shows are so horrible and dwell in horror. This show that's openly horrible has a lot more tastefulness about when it's horrible. Seeing the woman give the stillborn baby, like, it wasn't like it was thrashing. It was a stillborn baby, and it was so fucked up when we saw it. It was like, it looked like an alien, and it was like a fucking cyclops, and every single thing wrong with this fucking fetus. And that didn't bother us.
We explained that was because of the incest, in a way,
Targaryen.
a niece married an uncle, and they had a child.
And she also
didn't
is his former
survive.
sister-in-law, but that's a different story. The baby's head looked like broccoli. Everything about it was terrible.
It was the elephant. It was the elephant man.
And the thing is, they didn't try to invoke anything more than the fact this woman had a miscarriage, and it was key to the story, and it made sense in the sense that, like, they were like related. They were like third generation into this related thing, and it's just getting worse and worse for them. And she has kids with someone else who she was more distantly related to, who are viable, and we lose one of them, and that's just starting to affect everybody. We lost one of them at the end of last season.
Tune in Sunday evening.
Cool.
For Hot Take.
9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.
All right, cool.
And Tuesday evenings for the show, we now have changed the name to what's the new name? They Fly Now.
They fly now.
They fly now.
Star Wars Acolyte watch
Don't thread on me.
Don't thread on me. That's it. Yeah.
Don't thread on me, guys. Make a trend. If you're watching on X, go ahead and follow me. We give you ways to enjoy content with us. We provide a way, so to speak. You'll find a way. There'll be a link to help you. And we're here to stand up as an independent voice for pop culture.
I'm your host, Jedi. I'm your host, the Outlaw Bill, saying good night. Be excellent to each other. Party on, and we'll see you on the next one. Night, folks.